Easter Sunday in France, the fans await the biggest one-day cycle race, Paris Roubaix. The unforgiving cobbled roads bring Tour of Flanders winner Tom Bonen to challenge defending champion Johan van Summeren. Everybody wants to win the Queen of the Classics. Paris Roubaix, next on NBC Sports Network. At first glance, this road might appear forgiving. A scenic ride through a picturesque section of northern France. The closer look shows this is not neutral terrain. It's a path made violent by jagged rock, roads defined by profound resilience, built with the strength to endure a world war. And when cycling's tenuous wheels collide with this timeless stone, the inevitable outcome is chaos. In a race fittingly dubbed the Hell of the North. They have one day now to master this unruly road, one day to dodge agonizing mistakes. It's a ride across stone towards a velodrome coronation, where greatness is confirmed by one symbolic prize. Brace yourself now for the Queen of the Classics. Paris Roubaix is next. Hello and welcome to the Epic Cycle Series presented by Michelob Ultra, and here in Compiègne, just north of Paris, a hint of rain in the air. In the 6-hour journey, it will take the rides to complete the distance today. Hello everybody, I'm Phil Liggett. Alongside me is Paul Sherwin. This is the beautiful Palace Square here in Compiègne. We're about 50 miles north of Paris for the race which is always known as the Queen of the One-Day Classics. We talk about the Tour de France, but that is a 3-week race in the month of July. This is springtime, it's Easter. This is a one-day race, and a race, I think, Paul, that everybody wants to win.
Certainly a specialist wants to win this. This is a very strange race. It's old-fashioned because you can throw away all the technology. This race is all about survival, falling off, getting back up, getting yourself back into the bike race. And it takes a special man to win Paris-Roubaix. And if you do win Paris-Roubaix, Phil, everybody will always remember the name, as they will Johan van Summeren, who won this bike race last year.
Now, this race is famous for its cobblestone known as the Hell of the North. The roads which go back to Napoleonic times, and indeed many of these stretches of cobblestones now are not used by anything at all except on the day of Paris-Roubaix, because cars are banned in some places. There are 27 sections of cobblestones and they're overall 32 miles.
Yes, they're rated with a star rating. 1 star for the easy section of cobblestones and 5 stars for the difficult ones. The race moves away from Compiègne for the first 60 miles, which are basically pretty flat, nothing to write home about. But at 100 miles to go, that's when the 27 sections of cobblestones begin. To me, the most difficult ones are always the Forest of Arenberg, 3 kilometers long or 2 miles. After that, it's the very treacherous Mons-en-Pévèle. And if you want to win Paris-Roubaix, the best place to make a move is the very famous Forest of the Labre.
Well, it's very often the last man standing wins this race, and last year Johan van Summeren was the Belgian winner on his own. Now, this man has only won 5 races in his life. The big one undoubtedly last year, Paris-Roubaix, and he hasn't won since. He's 31 years of age now, but you know, he's always inspired by this race.
He is inspired by this race. If you finish 3 times in the top 10 and you win the race as well, the team rallies around you, and that's what Garmin Barracuda are going to do this weekend. They're going to look after Johan van Summeren and see if he can get a repeat win. But I think if he wants to win, Phil, he's going to have to look to a certain Tom Bonen. Bonen, the winner last week of the Tour of Flanders, in exceptional form, probably the best form of his life. He will come out for me as the #1 favourite.
Well, sadly, one of the other favourites not here because Fabian Cancellara crashed 38 miles from the finish last week in the Tour of Flanders. You may have seen it on our live coverage. He actually broke his collarbone in 4 places. That has been pinned. He now has to set his sights on getting fit again, probably for the Olympic Games.
Yes, I hope he's got the form for that, Phil, because he's a great champion. We wish him a very speedy recovery. Back to Paris Roubaix, though, for me, the big favourites were the favourites of last weekend's Tour of Flanders. Pipo Pozzata finished second in the Tour of Flanders last week. He loves these cobblestone classics, super motivated, and he'll try and go one better than Tom Boonen if he can. And, of course, BMC Racing are fielding again a very strong squad. The top man will be Alessandro Ballan, third last week in the Tour of Flanders, and he will be shouldered by a very strong team. And I have to say, dark horse, Thor Hushoff, former champion of the world, and a young man on his way up to the top of the sport from the United States, from Boulder, Colorado, Taylor Phinney. He's no stranger to these cobblestones because as an amateur, a young amateur, he actually won the amateur version, Phil, of this event on 2 occasions.
All right, well, the riders are on the way now. They can expect to be in the saddle for the best part of 6 hours. We will pick up straight after this break. See you in a moment. Well, before we go to live action, just a little bit of what has happened along the way. Out at 109 kilometres to go, a former winner of this event and a crash by Frédéric Guédon, just recovering from a broken femur as well, and riding his last Paris Roubaix and indeed his last race today. But he was up and riding pretty quickly. So we can now pick up the action with 65 miles still to go and that breakaway of 12 still clear. As they enter Sector 18, we are 3 minutes 26 ahead with these 12 riders who have been away for much of the day today. They're hanging on to the lead as we go into 64 kilometres, 64 miles to go to the finish. And Tom Boonen just about getting himself back into the action after we had that little stoppage on the cobblestones about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, this is the leading group of 12 riders. They built themselves up a maximum advantage one stage of just inside of 5 minutes. But as we now slowly but surely, Phil, start to make our way to the famous cobblestone section, the Forest of Arenberg, the speed in the main field is starting to pick up. Just on the right-hand side there, by the way, that is one of the giants of the Flandre Artois. They take these giants around to all of the town fairs around the northern part of France, and it's a very big part of the north of France culture.
They've seen more Paris-Roubaix than we have, Paul, the giants of Flanders. 3 minutes 18 now, still a lot of work to be done there. There's a little composition of the breakaway. The names are not well-known names. The biggest name in this breakaway is certainly Jaroslav Popovic, who has also won at the under-23 Paris-Roubaix in years gone by, back in the early 2000s. At the back of the break here for the moment, Frédéric Verkelin, the Belgian rider on the Dutch Vacances Soleil team. Sunny holidays, literally interpreted.
Back in 2001, actually, you can see Popovic over on the right-hand side. He was a world under-23 row racing champion. He was 4th in the world under-23 time trial championships, and he won the Paris-Roubaix under-23 edition that year too.
Now we're looking down at number 31 there. That is Alessandro Ballan. He is what we call the protected rider on the American team BMC today. They're all riding to try and see him win the day for him. At the moment, he's in the peloton, but he's, and when we get to the head of it, just look at the length of the line here, as they're now so much under pressure. He's a bit far down. I suspect that Alessandro Ballan was delayed by that crash we had about 15-20 minutes ago.
Yeah, he won't be happy about that. But, you know, Team BMC Racing, we've got a lot of riders in the squad here this afternoon who could be given their own chances. And I always think about George Hincapie. Hincapie, for so many years, was one of our big favourites for Paris-Roubaix. And he's always been very close to getting himself the victory. Hincapie's that was Hincapie, in fact, who just put that bottle into his mouth, and sitting behind him is Thor Hushoff. So Team BMC Racing in the black and red jerseys there. They've got a lot of riders at the front, and Taylor Phinney sitting up there in second position.
Well, my goodness me, how American cycling has come on over this past few years, because the Garmin Barracuda team are right there in those light blue jerseys as well, albeit with their Australian team member Heinrich Hausler setting the pace for them. It's goodbye to Sector 18 now. of 27 sectors of cobblestones today, a total of 51 kilometres. That's around 32 miles of bad roads, and most of it coming in the remainder of our coverage today. It's still all to be won or lost on the roads that lie ahead.
We're now looking at 20 kilometres or 12 miles of racing before we get to that Forest of Arenberg. This is the section 18 for the main field, from Main to Montchaux-sur-Écaillon. Écaillon, the little river that winds its way around here. A section of cobblestones at 1.6 kilometres, or to put it into old money, a mile long.
Just sitting at the back here, Dutch Rabobank rider, number 26, Dennis van Winden. The Dutch can ride over cobblestones. They do have cobble roads, very much so in Holland, but not quite as bad as these in France just now. There's the French flag fluttering in the breeze. There's not a lot of wind around today. It is slightly overcast and is a hint of rain, but thankfully still dry.
Well, this front part of the main field is about to get caught there by the peloton, but there's still a lot of riders left behind, because in fact there's only one car behind this group, and that of course is the car of the race referee, the red car that you'll see just coming into vision in a couple of seconds time.
You have to take your hat off too to the police, Paul, and the way they ride these motocross motorbikes in amongst the riders. They're such skilled bike handlers themselves, because anything can happen at any moment in time. Also, the riders in yellow are actually the official service mechanics, because they are neutral service. They carry wheels only. Any rider has a flat tyre of any team, and they can take the wheels from those motorbikes. It's the only way you can do it on this course.
Well, the problem is that once you have riders getting dropped behind, that the cars can't actually get past at all, because the road is so narrow that they have to wait for the big pieces of cobblestone, big pieces of road later on.
Well, 100 kilometres to go, or 62.5 miles. The gap, 2 minutes 44. April 21st, the Epic Cycle Series, presented by Michelob Ultra, continues with the Belgian classic Flèche Wallonne. Cycling's elite must conquer the punishing Mur de Huy on Saturday, April 21st, on the NBC Sports Network. Paris Roubaix is all about the cobblestones. It's been this way since 1896. But what it's like to ride over them, let's hear from the riders.
The cobbles are very hard to describe. There's really nothing like that in the United States where you can ride, unless you put your bike on some train tracks and ride on them for several kilometers.
Cobblestone is just madness. You get onto it, and the slower you go, the harder it gets. So you have to keep this constant speed that kills you, that it really drains all the energy out of your system.
It's incredible how rough it is, because, you know, the bikes have to be stiff and light and all that, and when you hit these cobblestones, the bike just jumps around.
Your hands ache, your shoulders ache, your feet ache. You know, they just kind of rattle you to death, and it's you know, a certain breed of rider that comes to the front.
It's a skill that takes a very special rider, doesn't it, Paul?
Yes, it does, Phil. You've got to be a special kind of rider to get over the cobblestones. You've got to be able to cruise over the top. You have to ride the cobblestones with power, and then you've got to try and keep up to speed.
So we are just 98 kilometres from the finish. It's about 60 miles still to race. 2:39 is now the gap, and the field has totally regrouped here, and they're being just trying to get off the front. It is Andre Greipel who's made a move.
Well, Phil, he saw the opportunity. He felt a little bit of a slowing down of these bike riders, so then he decided that he would take the advantage of a slowing down in the peloton. Maybe Greipel is trying to get himself a little bit of a lead before we go to the Forest of Arenberg.
Very wise man indeed, I think, because that's a cruel stretch of road in the forest. It's not used at all during the year. It is barriered off, no vehicles allowed. It is a place of tranquility, except on the day of Paris Roubaix.
Well, sorry, Phil, before he gets to the Forest of Arenberg, he's got another long section as well, because before that, you've got the section from Arveluy to Wallez, which is 2.5 kilometres long. Now, that's only about 3 kilometres away from where Andre Greipel is now, but they're not giving him a free ticket this afternoon.
So that gap of 2:36 is now to Greipel. The peloton are timed at 2 minutes and 40 seconds, the peloton being the big pack of riders. And as far as we can see, as we get into the bunch with our cameras, all of the favourites are still very much in this pack.
Just over to the left-hand side, behind the armada of BMC Racing in the black and red jerseys, you can see the green and gold, I suppose we would have to call it, Phil, of the Australian Green Edge squad. They're very present at the front end of the peloton.
More traps to the right and left of the peloton here. If they come off this tarmac on the roads here, They go into the stones, and it looks as though Andres said, "I'll wait for you now."
Probably said, the wind's in the wrong direction here this afternoon. I'm not going to ride for the next 10 kilometres with the wind smacking straight into the face. I think I'll stay in the main field where it's just a little bit warmer.
All the work being done by those red and black jerseys of the BMC team from the USA. They really have got faith in their rider Alessandro Ballan today, or maybe Thor Hushovd, because Thor Hushovd, the former world champion, has said this is the race he really wants to win before he retires. There is Tom Bonen, who, funnily enough, has moved to the back of the race, and now he's suddenly put himself back to the front. So he took the smooth stretch of road, he took his opportunity to drop back to the team car.
I think he took that advantage.
Looks like he's eating.
Yeah, you've got to keep eating, and it's very difficult in a race like Paris Roubaix because, in fact, the only place you can really eat, Phil, is on the smooth sections of road. So what happens is you use these smooth sections of road to keep the energy levels topped up. He looks extremely relaxed here, Bonen, but you watch the way he rides. As soon as he starts to feel the approach of another cobblestone section, he'll scuttle up the outside and place himself at the front end of the pack.
Having a little bit of a chat there with Tom Lisa from the rival Rabobank team. So all of the favourites still together in this large field. We are now inside 60 miles from the finish, and the gap is 2:49. As we're heading on to sector 17, we're heading now to Waller. This is a tough sector of cobblestones. It's 2.5 kilometres in length, which is just on 1 3/4 miles for the riders to race on. Take a look at that chain and you might get some idea how these boys feel. I reckon when they go to bed tonight, the body continues to vibrate.
The worst thing, actually, Phil, about Paris Roubaix is, when you ride a race, you're expected to get sore legs, sore back. But the day after Paris Roubaix, what actually hurts is your fingers. In between each joint of your fingers, it's absolute agony because of the pounding your hands have been taking through over 31 miles of cobblestones.
And the big blisters that form just below on your fingers there.
Getting very nervous now, the riders. They realise this is a long section of cobbles, and you might have noticed the pale blue jerseys of Omega Pharma Quickstep coming up to the front end of the peloton. And now the reason for that is I think Tom Bonen is going to make sure that he doesn't get caught out on this section. And that, in fact, is Tom Bonen sitting in second position.
Yes, because they're now getting nervous. They're approaching shortly the Forest of Arenberg here. It's the next section of cobblestones when we get there. And the big boys will want to be at the front to see the way up this long, steady uphill climb through the forest, dead straight as we head now towards Wallers itself.
There's one of the slag heaps over on the far side. There's many of those dotted around here, waste from the old mining industry, which is why a lot of people came to the northern part of France in the old days. A lot of Polish people came to settle here, including the famous Jean Stablanski, who was a world champion, and he rode Paris-Roubaix as well. And he always claimed, Phil, he passed away a couple of years ago, but he always claimed that his claim to fame was having worked in the coal mines below and raced over the cobblestones above.
Yes, top and tail, Jean Stablanski, quite a character, world champion in the mid-60s at the expense of the great Irishman Shea Elliott. 2:43. The race for the cobblestones has been won, so now they'll just block the road at the front so nobody can get up there. That's why they want to be there first. We're not at the cobblestones yet. Visibility is coming down now. And don't adjust your pictures. Nothing to do with us. It is the dust coming off the bikes and the cars.
Well, you've got to take your hat off as well. You see the camera motorbike in front there. These guys from French television do a phenomenal job here of covering Paris-Roubaix.
Absolutely.
And I would say they're pretty sore by the end of the day as well, because they're also taking a fairly serious pounding. Tête de la course. Now they're coming off cobblestone section number 17. They've got that one under the belt. They've got 5 kilometres now to go to the Forest of Arenberg.
This is still end of sector 17 for the leaders, for the main peloton rather. The gap is hovering now, holding inside 3 minutes at 2:50. This is exactly going to plan now for the peloton. They're getting their favourites up towards the front. They're getting ready for the journey through Arenberg. A brief journey through some of the worst cobblestones of the day. Just in second wheel there is Gert Stegmans as well, a teammate, former teammate of Tom Bonen, and now a teammate again of his.
And also riding to the front, that first place rider for BMC in the red and black jersey, that Thor Hushovd. He had a terrible Tour of Flanders last week, but somehow, I don't know how he does it, Phil. He always manages to get himself back up for Paris Roubaix.
You've always said he has a bad Tour of Flanders and a good Paris Roubaix, and they're precisely 8 days apart. Well, Hushoff actually is on record recently as saying he wants to win this race. It's the one race before he retires he must win, and he clearly has that ambition today.
Well, he does, and he's got a strong team. BMC Racing is one of the super squads on the international circuit. Alessandro Ballan, former champion of the world and former winner of the Tour of Flanders. George Hincapie, the experience. Last week, he attained a record that he took away from the famous Belgian rider Brick Schotter by finishing 17 times the race Tour of Flanders. It just amazes me.
George just never gets tired of this sport. He loves it. Little bit of a battle here at the back with the Liquigas boys trying to get themselves organised. That was Juresh Sagan, number 148. He is the younger brother. Some say he will one day be better than Peter Sagan, but Peter's not riding today, so it's up to him to show the flag for the family. This is the end of the cobblestones, sector 17 for the peloton. And as they come off the cobblestones with 55 miles left, the gap is 2:44. Now, one rider who has a love-hate relationship with this event is the American George Hincapie. Since he was a boy, he's dreamed of winning this race, and it's a dream he still chases.
I think today George Hincapie has come of age. He's not riding this race to finish it. He's not riding this race to be one of the participants. He has ridden this race today to win. Hincapie's the man on the front putting the hammer down. He's giving it everything he's got. He's not going to sit back and try and ride for second place. He wants to win this bike race.
George Hincapie of the USA is riding a brilliant race. Hincapie is fourth.
George Hincapie stopping at the side of the road, pushed on by the spectators. But Phil, once you lose your momentum, it's very difficult to get it going again. This is a very good and confident move by George Hincapie.
It's a great chance for George, and he's got to give it everything.
Hincapie looks good. Hincapie will not let anything move away from him here this afternoon.
Hincapie has done a best ever for the United States in second. What's happened? Oh, I don't know what happened there, but he seemed to start to ride no-handed.
That's
and then
Hincapie.
George, yes, it's Hincapie. George Hincapie is totally stunned. Well, this is, again, a little slice of bad luck for George. He's wrestling with that wheel to get it out of the bike. George Hincapie comes forward to dead centre as well. This could become a great battle here between Hincapie and Cancellara. Well, the thing is with George, Paul, he seems to be an evergreen in cycling. I don't think he'll ever leave this sport, and he just loves riding this event.
He's extremely motivated by Paris Roubaix. You know, he's one of those guys, when he wakes up on the morning of Paris Roubaix, he knows he's going to have a good day. All he needs, though, Phil, I think, is to one day have Lady Luck on his side.
Absolutely. We're looking down from the helicopter now as the peloton reforming again before we enter the forest of Arenberg. 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and again we've now got team BMC on the front. It's the American squad. George Hincapie is right on the sharp end in amongst those four riders with him, and it looks as though they're now trying desperately to hold front position before we enter the forest.
Now, you might have known they're pulling out all of the cars out of the gap. Now, that's an indicator. The race referees, Phil, believe that the gap will be starting to come down very quickly. They want to make sure the gap between the breakaway group and the main field is completely clean and sterile. And those mine shafts, they are that nowadays it's in fact a mining museum, but that's the indication to all of the bike riders. Any professional bike rider knows in the world, once you see the headgear in place, you're not far from Arenberg.
Yeah, heading into hell, and it's with a capital H, this stretch of road, known as the Hell of the Northern France, as far as the Queen of the Classics is concerned. At least Lady Luck has provided us with dry roads, although dusty roads can be most irritating to the eyes, as the breakaway, which has been away since around about 35 miles, 70 kilometres or slightly less than that since the start today. Here we are now, almost 85 kilometres from the finish, just on 53 miles, and they're still clear by 2.5 minutes as we head into the forest. As those mine head shafts there, they can't see them, but we can from the helicopter. They're going to get the best view of them very, very shortly. All right, well, we'll take a break, but when we come back, we will be in the most treacherous sections of cobblestones in the race, the ever-decisive Arenberg Forest. See you in a moment.
The Forest of Arenberg, 1.4 miles of some of the most treacherous cobblestones that the north of France can throw up at a bike race. This is probably the scariest section of cobblestones of the whole of the race.
Somebody shot off into the crowd there. You see the crowd, the whole field has gone off into the crowd.
This is where you can lose Paris Roubaix.
Straight on now as they hit the Forest of Arenberg now. The bones are rattling here. This is a long stretch, dead straight. Oh! And there's a rider down straight away. And that was Grisha Janotska, who misjudged it totally. He's taken out a number of riders in the breakaway.
That was a very nasty crash indeed. They've got to get those cars out. Now look at this. What happened? The front wheel, his front wheel started to go. He's trying to control it. Gets the foot out, but there's nothing he can do, and he goes down. I'll tell you one thing, Phil. When you go down on these cobbles, it seems to be much harder than if you go down on a tarmac road. And then all of a sudden there's chaos. In a minute we see the main field start to charge in here. There's the Omega Pharma Lotto rider Van Kuilsbroek. He's up, his bike is damaged, but shortly you're going to see around about 120 guys charging down this ferry road as well.
Well, sadly that was a very heavy fall by Grisha Janotska, and it took out also Guillaume Van Kuilsbroek of Omega Pharma Lotto. It's caused the problem for the breakaway. They have now decimated themselves on the road. It's a long, steady drag as far as you can see before they get to good road.
Well, you can see they've barried off the right-hand side, so these riders have to ride on the cobblestones. It's all been dug up as well over on the left-hand side, so they've got to stay on the cobblestone. They always say the best place to ride the Forest of Arenberg, Phil, is actually in the middle, right on the crown of the cobblestones. That's where it's the smoothest. But, you know, if you lose your front wheel, as that rider did from NetApp just a few moments ago, there's not really very much you can do. The organisation now, they're trying to get all of their men to the front. The black and red, those are the riders from BMC Racing, the American squad looking after Alessandro Ballant and George Hincapie. There's Ballant moving forward. Bonan sitting in the middle. No teammates around him right now. He is comfortable.
Well, everybody wants to be first into the forest now, and the race has just been warned that the fallen rider, Grisha Janotska, is still lying in the road, and so they're going to have to be careful as they enter the cobblestones. It'll make it possibly even narrower. And so now the pressure on the front. The strong men of Paris Roubaix will ride at 30, 33 miles an hour to stop anybody moving up. They are holding position for the forest, and there is the entry.
Phil, this is where the battle begins in Paris Roubaix. It's all about the Forest of Arenberg. I've always said this, I say it every year. You don't win Paris Roubaix here, Phil, but you certainly have got a very good chance of losing it. Omega Pharma Quickstep in control. That must be Gert Steegmans in the first position. Second position is Tom Bonan.
Well, they have managed to get rid of the fallen Grisha Janotska, which is safe for the riders. The breakaway, though, is now splintering all of the time, being driven on by Kenny de Hees of Belgium in the breakaway, but they haven't recovered the composure from that fall. Now back to the peloton, as the peloton ride the centre of the road.
You look at these bottles, Phil, dropping left and right. That's very dangerous indeed. You've got to make sure you keep away from those. But it's Gert Steegmans in first position. Bonan looking comfortable, looking for the smooth part of the road. I've got to take my hat off to him today, though, Phil, riding without any gloves. He is feeling the bike. He's feeling Paris-Roubaix. He wants to get off this section of cobblestones. Still, for the moment, hardly. There's his teammate. His teammate's up and riding. That's why you have a man in the early morning breakaway, while the chaos is at the back of the pack.
That was Guillaume Van Kuilsbroek, who's just fallen back into the group now, as another rider stops there with a back tyre punch. I also saw Juan Antonio Fletcher of Team Sky tucked right in behind Gert Steegmans. This is the chaos they're leaving behind on the road at the moment, and it looks to me as though we've got Radio Shack in trouble.
Well, Omega Pharma Quickstep are still in control, but it's not the same pale blue jersey. It's the Bleu Blanc Rouge, and that, of course, is the French national champion, Sylvain Chavanel. He has become such an incredible one-day rider since he moved across from Team Cofidis a couple of years ago, Phil, to ride with this Belgian squad.
Well, there's the flags of Belgium flying here, more noticeable than the flags of France right now, because this is their terrain. You're right, though, it is Sylvain Chavanel. He's second place here, and he's here to ride for Tom Bonan. So we've got Gert Stegemans, we've got Sylvain Chavanel, we've got Juan Antonio Fletcher. Those are the riders at the head of the peloton.
I just saw a stoppage there on the left-hand side of BMC Racing, and I think it may well have been George Hincapie who was getting assistance to get a spare wheel in. In the front end now, Sylvain Chavanel, followed by his teammate Tom Bonen. He is hammering down this road. They want to make the difference. They want to try and split this race apart here as Chavanel is followed by Bonen. They're in fourth position. You can just spot there Thor Hushovd, champion of the world. A little bit further back, Sepp Van Mark.
The best ever finish by Chavanel in this event is 8th a couple of years ago. But he's not here to get a high finish. He's here now to try and take his team captain, Tom Bonen, away from the rest. Riders caught in the middle. I've just seen Pazzato pass underneath our camera. But riders now battling for survival in the Forest of Arnhem. Now you know why they rode so hard at the front and weren't concerned about the breakaway. They just wanted to make sure they were first into the forest. The breakaway will come back of its own accord.
Well, look at the way the clock is tumbling now. It's down to 1 minute and 55 seconds. It was 2 minutes, it was 3 minutes, it was 4 minutes. But look at the length of the main field. Sylvain Chavanel is doing a phenomenal job here this afternoon, not just for himself, but for the team. Omega Pharma, Quick Step, and that, of course, they're all today, Phil. They've got to be working for Tom Bonen.
Chavanel has pulled this bunch into a long, thin line, and at the back of it, it is going to be very tough for the riders to hang on as he heads up towards the top of the forest. There'll be a change of direction. There'll be good roads for a short while. Chavanel looks over his shoulder there, sees what sort of damage he's done, and now they will steadily regroup. Pressure might come off just a little bit.
A little bit now, Phil, because they've got themselves 6 kilometres or 4 miles of smooth road. Time to get a breather.
A welcome one at that too. There's Chavanel, who did a great job in second place here. Looking further with the leaders now, it's Popovic pushing the pace. He survived the shunt at the back. No, this is in fact the second. This is the back group off the back of the group here, Paul.
Yeah, this is the damage that has been done by the Forest of Arenberg. These are riders still trying to get themselves back into the race, but I'm saying pretty much to those guys, it's probably going to be an early shower here this afternoon. This is the groupe de tête, as they say in French, the leading group on the race, and obviously decimated by that nasty crash halfway through.
So we just have 7 riders left in the front now, 8 in fact in this front group after that crash. The gap has come down to 1 minute and 46. We are exactly 50 miles from the finish in Roubaix. Well, as we approach the next section of cobbles, one man who shocked the peloton with his great win at this event last year was Johan van Summeren. It really was a gutsy ride, and he's now the subject of today's Road ID Athlete Profile. This will be a big emotional moment. The winner of Paris Roubaix, Johan van Summeren.
For me, it's a race that suits me the best. It's within my capabilities as a rider. I have the luck that it's one of the most famous bike races in the world. It's everybody's dream when they become a rider to win a Grand Tour or win a Classic, but not many riders really succeed in that. And at least at the end of my career, I can say I have won 1 Classic.
Sumi's win at Paris Roubaix was an example of what we are as a team. It's very emblematic because Johan, 9 times out of 10, is the guy working for someone else on the team. And that day, he was able to actually benefit from the all-for-one, one-for-all attitude that we've always had here.
We had such a strong team. Then another important thing was also that Thor was one of the really big favorites. So people were watching a little bit more at him than they were watching at me, and they made a mistake, apparently.
And he's not waiting for anyone. He's sensing there's a chance here. And of all the men that we would have mentioned to win today, I don't think we would have picked Johan van Summeren.
There were other people attacking, and Jonathan said, "You have to drop them on the Carrefour, you have to drop them." I turned open the cars completely, and they never made it back to my wheels. I was riding with that flat tire. The first time I hit the rim at the ground was at 3.5, 4K from the finish, so it was slowly losing hair.
It is truly incredible, and the goosebumps must come onto his arms there. He can't believe it. He's in first place in Paris Roubaix from a breakaway, and he's held off all the stars of the race. He's now a star himself.
We're hearing on Belgian radio that maybe after the finish you might just have made a special announcement. Would you like to tell us about the new engagement?
Yeah, I asked my girlfriend to marry me. Maybe it doesn't look romantic, but I think you can't do it on a more special way than this way.
I didn't know there were all these cameras and microphones, and when I see these pictures now afterwards I think, how stupid do you look actually? I think it was the most hectic day in my life. Everybody was pulling at me, go here, come here, go there, do this, do that. And the first time I could sit down was maybe 2-3 hours after the race in the bus, had a beer, and that's when I could finally...
Well, that's your road ID, athlete profile. The thing about Van Summeren, Paul, is he's 31 years of age, only won 5 races, but he always performs well in Paris Roubaix.
He's got the right body for a race like this, Phil. You know, it's all a question of dynamics and being able to sit hard in the middle of your bicycle to float over the cobblestones.
As we hit sector 15 now at de Bussigny, we are on a 3-star section of cobblestones, which means it's not as severe as the 4 or the 5 sectors, but it is still pretty hard, believe me. 1.4 kilometres is its length, just on 1 mile now. And this is the breakaway, the survivors of that breakaway, down to 8 men.
There is a big gap because of that Forest of Arenberg. This is not a large group of riders as they come up to this next section of cobblestones, because they too are now starting to line up for cobble section number 15 to go, Milan-Fosse to Bussigny.
Well, the vibration going, but it looks as though Johan van Summeren is far right of our picture there. As he drops back, though, the rest of the race comes through. It might be a Team Skyrider, actually, who's on the front. As they continue over the cobblestones now at 1:40, the catch is not that far away. This is Alex Saramotins of Latvia trying to split up the race, because it's just how much strength you've got left now. You've got to use it. These are dire moments in Paris Roubaix.
Well, I tell you what, Team Vacances-Soleil have really been an incredible team over the early part of this season, and they managed to get themselves 2 riders into this leading breakaway. Frederik Vökelen, who rode exceptionally well in Paris-Nice in the early part of this season, and Bert-Jan Lindemann. So they'll be quite happy to have 2 teammates in this group.
Jimmy Casper being brought back to the fold now, as the peloton rip their way across to the Frenchman. 6 victories last year for Jimmy Casper.
Alessandro Ballan. Now, this is a very crafty little move here. You would have expected the move to come a little bit further back. Now, Alessandro Ballan is a rider they dare not allow too much freedom. He was tipped before the start of this race as the #1 man for Team BMC Racing, but there's no reaction in that group at all.
And Ballan looking very, very comfortable as he passed through our camera there in the red colours of BMC as they continue on.
Yeah, in fact, there's a slowing down in that main field. Now, that, I think, is going to be a rather dangerous tactical move for anybody to allow Alessandro Ballan an advantage when we start to get into this repetitive nature of the cobblestone sections that are getting thrown at these riders. Ballan is in that little group there, just forcing its way off the front of the pack.
All hugging at the right of the road here. Ballan is the 4th man in this line, and the first time we see a favourite lay down a card today. As they leave sector 15, Ballan comes off it in 4th wheel. Now they look over and see what sort of a gap they've engineered over that main field.
And they'll be happy to see that gap is there, and Ballan, I would think, will immediately start to participate in the pacemaking in that group, because he'll realise that he'll have teammates behind who can cover the moves. Now, starting to take interest in that group, there is Omega Pharma Quickstep looking for a little bit of assistance.
So it's goodbye to sector 15 for the peloton. The gap remains at 1:40, but at the moment it's Alessandro Ballan who's playing one of his cards. The gaps now, the 4 riders containing Ballan also include Juan Antonio Fletcher. They are chasing now. Jimmy Casper's hung on in there along with Sebastian Turbo. They've got themselves 13 or 14 seconds over the peloton. Danger bells must be sounding in the peloton. 2 big favourites have slipped away.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, there you can see why you need to have a strong team. Tête de la course, again, the front end of the bike race. 2 riders in there from Vacansoleil. That's Verkelen and Lindemann. But these 8 riders... There's another crash at the left-hand side of the road. Not a very dangerous one, too, but these riders have been left at the side of the road. You see, the problem on a day like this, Phil, is because it is so dusty, and the dust makes it almost as slippery as if you're racing in the wet.
Well, the rider in front slipped his gear, and the rider who didn't touch him, I think, just lost concentration or applied his brakes and went down.
Well, this is Heinrich Hausler, the Australian rider on Garmin Barracuda. He tried to get himself across the gap, but he just couldn't quite make it. So Garmin now are also on the back foot.
Well, the only answer now is to muster their troops and start to take up the chase here. 74 kilometres from the finish, which is just about 46 miles to go to the end of the day, but there's some terrible roads lying in front of these riders, waiting for them, waiting to catch them unawares. These are the leading group of 8, the survivors of the bunch of 12, which lost 4 men on the forest of Arenberg. As they concentrate now, just sitting here at the back is Benji Lindemann of Vacansoleil, Française de Jeu rather, and Vacansoleil for Lindemann.
Next section here, this is 14 to go. This is Briant to Tilloy-les-Marchiennes, a section of 1.1 kilometres. And if I can say, Phil, I know this section extremely well. This is almost like a motorway section of cobblestones compared to the Forest of Arenberg that they went over just a few moments ago.
Well, sadly, the most notable rider who went from this break, blocked in that crash in the forest, was Jaroslav Popovic. So Radio Shack Nissan has lost the man up front. They're going to have to try and replace him and bring up the cavalry from the rear right now. Riding steadily down the centre of the cobblestones. It sounds strange, but it's often the best place to be on these roads. And pedalling as fast as you can to get rid of them quickly. 57 seconds is the gap now. Inside a minute and closing fast is this group here, which contains Alessandro Ballan, Juan Antonio Fletcher, as we bounce on to sector 14.
This is from Briant to Tilloy-les-Marchiennes. Now, this is a very clever move by Team BMC Racing. They've seen this as a great opportunity, and having an ally like Juan Antonio Fletcher in the group, all of a sudden the cat is going to be put amongst the pigeons in the main field. And look at the flags there on the right-hand side, the flags of the Lion of Flanders. Well, they've got to wait for about 25 seconds before the new Lion of Flanders, Tom Bonen, appears, and there is his group.
Well, we go around these very exposed fields, constantly changing direction, like a giant snake lying across the department of the Nord-Pas-de-Calais. And not surprisingly, it is Tom Bonen's team who are driving the chase here. The warning flags are up now because they know 2 men that really could affect the outcome of this race have got themselves a little advantage. And it's not surprising that Bonen has now said to his team, we've got to counter this move now.
Well, they're going so fast, Omega Pharma Quickstep, they're in fact opening up a gap over the front end of the peloton. Second position, the bleu, blanc, rouge, red, white and blue is Sylvain Chavanel. He really has become a great specialist. You know, it's 15 years, Phil, since a Frenchman won Paris Roubaix, and I wonder if Sylvain Chavanel's going to come up with the goods this afternoon. That's Stuart O'Grady going through there. Right behind him is Tomica himself, the pale blue jersey of Omega Pharma Quickstep.
Stuart O'Grady, the winner of this great race and the only Australian to indeed have ever won this race. Back in 2007, leading the 3-time winner, Tom Bonen, who's looking to equal the record of 4 today. As the split is still there, this is real pressure just now.
Well, Bonen saw that the rider in front of him was starting to weaken and losing the gap, and he took the responsibility of closing down that gap himself straight onto the train, which is being led by his teammates.
It's an incredible thing to think that you could have won this race 3 times. There are a few riders who have done it in the past. In fact, in all, there are 6 riders who've won this race 3 times, including De Vlaming, who's won it 4. Second wheel now, it's Sylvain Chavanel, the champion of France, but very much on the Belgian team of Tom Bonen, and is there to help him with his enormous strength. He's in second place now. They are driving off this sector of cobblestones. 52 seconds the spread across the whole field in Paris Roubaix.
Yeah, but Phil, there's not very much respite here this afternoon for these bike riders, because in 2 kilometres it's the next section of cobblestones.
So as Gert Stegmans lifts the pace now, these are desperate moments in Paris Roubaix, but the gap remains of 52 seconds.
Number 33 there, George Hincapie, tried to get himself onto the back of the group. He obviously had a little bit of a mechanical problem. Hincapie finishes 17 times of the Ronde van Vlaanderen, the Tour of Flanders, and I've got my fingers crossed that he gets through the early part of this season nice and safely, because if he does, he should be starting the Tour de France for the 17th time in his career. It's remarkable.
Let's take a break then as Paris Roubaix nears the finish. We're entering now sector 14. The gap is down from 52 to 47 seconds. George Hincapie has rejoined at the back of this group after his problems in the forest. So too Andre Greipel. But they're more concerned about the whereabouts of that group of 6 riders, which includes Alessandro Ballan and Juan Antonio Fletcher. But Paul, the spread now is only 46 seconds.
It's not very much at all, and I was pretty right there, Phil, when I spotted one of the BMC riders stopping in the forest of Arenberg, and I thought it was George Hincapie, and he's battled his way back into this race.
This is Team Rabobank rider in the breakaway as he continues now. Juan Antonio Fletcher, the rider in black for the British Team Sky, dodging around there, but he loves these one-day classics, and he always rides well here. He's gone early, and it might have been an impetus just because he saw Ballan go. He thought, why not? He's played an interesting card. It's a very different race now. Clouds are still heavy, but I don't think the rain is going to come.
Well, fingers crossed for the riders, but it is extremely windy out there. Omega Pharma Quickstep have seen this now as being a very dangerous move. You don't give an advantage to riders like Ballan and Juan Antonio Fletcher, but you can see the damage. You can see the gaps now starting to appear in the main field as the pressure really is starting to get put down.
So as the riders continue on here, we've just seen the finish, by the way, of the under-23 Paris-Roubaix for junior riders, and it's been won by a Danish rider who's finished on his own, Mads Schmidt. So well done to him. And Jonathan Dibben, a British rider, has gone over there in 3rd place. But 69 kilometres, Paul. Look at the way they're bouncing. This is a nasty corner. Usually it's covered in mud.
Well, I tell you what, you just watch the way these riders go around, and these guys they're going around these corners as if, in fact, they were going round a normal road. The riders in this group, the Rabobank rider, by the way, is Martin Wijnants, and he's the rider in the orange jersey. But the main field are right on their coattails here this afternoon. The gaps are appearing, the pressure is coming on, and we've still got 70 kilometres to go before the finish. The gap's down to 37 seconds between the 8 leaders and the 6 chasers, and the main field, well, they're only 12 seconds further back.
And the French rider who's made it, Mathieu Danu, is also, and there's another rider stopped by the wheel in the air, looking around for help. Let's hope he gets it quickly, because your race can be over in the blink of a cobblestone today. 37 seconds now as the breakaway is being chased down by those 6 riders up front, and the peloton under immense pressure now, because it's all down to Tom Boner's team to do the chasing here. I've not seen any of the lime green jerseys of Farnese Wines, because that's the team of Pazzato, but I think they've been under pressure the whole day at the wrong end of the field.
Well, this is a very long section of cobblestones, Phil, because in fact it's 2 cobblestone sections bolted together to make section 14 to go. It's Tilloy-les-Marchens right the way through to Sars-et-Rosiers, and it's a total distance of 3.5 kilometres. But we are really now starting to put the hammer down, and in fact I think that's in fact the corner that was the end of Frank Schleck's Paris Tour de France last year, when we went round going in the opposite direction.
When he broke his collarbone.
2 years ago, sorry.
Well, 2 years ago, and his own brother Andy just drove past him, took a long hard look at him and felt pretty sad. 32 seconds the gap now as we're looking here at Martin Wijnants, a drive on the breakaway group, which is Alessandro Ballan. Oh, there they are for you anyway. Le Dianu is the rider from France.
Yeah, he's got himself into that group around that corner. Oh, this is a bit nasty. Watch out for that little bit of traffic furniture in the middle of the road there. This is the end of that long section. They've got a nice long piece of smooth road now, Phil, as they come up to here, because they're heading up to the town of Orchy. And that section of cobblestones at Orchy. After that, they go down a little nasty road called the Road of the Cemetery.
22 seconds now is the gap to the chase group of 6 riders, including Ballan and Fletcher. So the situation at the moment, 8 leaders, 6 riders chasing at 22 seconds, and the peloton are just behind. Heading now to the next section of cobblestones, and the one man, of course, everyone is looking at today is Tom Boonen. He is today's big favourite. He's aiming to win this race 4 times and join the great Roger de Vlaming, and he's also the subject of today's Road ID athlete profile. Tom Boonen now has arrived in the real big time of Belgian cycling. A little bit of a wobble. Boonen has done it again. As they come up to the line, it's Boonen and McEwen, and Tom gets it. Tom Boonen is an absolute powerhouse.
2005 was obviously my best year, and so far I won the World Championship. I think I could have won already the green jersey 2005, but I broke my kneecap that year. It was a good season, and I did a few years like that. Back in those days, we had a good team, very good team. Sprints was also a little bit different than it is right now. The last 2 years were a little bit unlucky. Had some bad injuries, which took a lot of time to heal.
That's Boonen who's gone down, and he really has seen the wrong side of the Tour de France. Been a rough ride for him.
My knee problem solved. The legs are equal strength again. Also, my wrist is healed, so I think right now everything's where it's supposed to be. It took me a year to be riding good again, you know, to be able to do stuff that I was able to do before. I know what happened, you know. I think at the Spring Classics I did. I won Gent-Wevelgem, was 4th in Flanders with absolutely no comparisons with the years before. I mean, I was still able to do that with no condition like I had before.
So Ballan has started it, and Tom Boonen's seen the finish. He's being drawn like a magnet to the line. It doesn't look like he's got the legs in Pizzato, or has he? Pizzato is coming, but on the line. Tom Boonen gets it. He becomes the winner again.
I wasn't expecting it. I was even not feeling super today. I don't know why, but I was feeling a little bit tired on the race, and I had to count on my sprints. I was not strong enough to ride to the finish solo. But then with the 3 guys, this final, I think it was an amazing race with an amazing finish.
Tom Boonen sends out a strong message to the rest of the peloton for 2012.
Well, that's our Road ID athlete profile, and Tom Boonen, Paul, he's won a massive number of races over his life, 117, but he's never had a career like this. He's riding so well this year.
For some reason, Tom Boonen has come back to the form that he had a couple of seasons ago, and don't ever forget that he's super motivated by this week of racing, the Tour of Flanders and Paris Roubaix.
Looking down now on sector 13 here of the 27 sectors. There's still plenty of bad road ahead. The breakaway has been wiped out at around 45 miles from the finish. And this new group, new attack off the front, just off the front of the peloton, was spearheaded by Sylvain Chavanel. And look at the damage done to the peloton. It has totally broken up the peloton.
It is smashed the peloton into smithereens here this afternoon. Again, a long section of cobblestones, 1.4 kilometres long, this section, only rated as a 2-star rating. The next section, though, Phil, is going to be absolute chaos, because that is the section which takes the riders away from the town of Orchy. And if you ever drive or ride your bike around in this area, it's an amazing smell, because there's a chicory roasting factory, and it smells like coffee for miles and miles around.
Right at the back there in that blue jersey for Saxo Banco is Mikhail Morkov. He was in that breakaway. Now he's hanging on in what's left of the peloton there, which is now again under pressure here. These cobble sections now come so quickly that you've really got to go with the front moves, and if you can't, the gaps just pull open very, very quickly indeed. The peloton are desperate now, diving for any little bit of road they can find that might help, forming a line on the right. This is an attack by Sébastien Turgot, who was in that leading group of 6, now trying to go it alone.
Well, I suppose you could say Turgot is looking for his turbo here this afternoon over the cobblestones, but Sylvain Chabanel is the man who's got the big V8 engine whistling here this afternoon. He is a man on fire for France. The French will be going absolutely ballistic if they've got any possibility of a man from their country winning this great classic.
I have to say that Chavanel is what we call a real bike racer. He just gets out there and pedals to the maximum ability he has. He has caused absolute chaos behind him. He must know what he is doing in the desperate moments to try and regroup this field, because he has snatched the bottle there nicely as he comes off that sector. 4 seconds is the gap. But that's to the peloton. He's looked over to see the damage. He knows now. He'll assess which riders have joined him.
Well, I tell you what, let's not forget that Sylvain Chavanel, just before the Tour of Flanders, was the winner of the 3 days of Le Pen, and that was because of his incredible domination in the individual time trial there. That was the third stage in the afternoon, and because of that, Sylvain Chavanel walked away with the victory in the Driesdag van de Panne, as they say in Flemish.
Turbo being joined by the remnants of that breakaway. Chavanel getting up, always conscious, always checking out who is behind them at the moment. But the gap is opening.
Well, the gap is opening, and as you can see, there's two riders trying to get across the gap as they come into Orchy.
Just on the 40 miles from the finish now, it's time for everybody to sit up and have some food before the final showdown begins. And now into the town of Orchy, and when you leave this town, it is a bumpy way out for sure. Narrow, twisting and dangerous. And again, the peloton applying the pressure at the front because nobody wants to relinquish the front positions now as they head towards the narrow entry into the cobbles.
Around these corners, most of these riders, they've actually ridden during the last week. They've ridden the last 50 or 60 kilometres, so they're getting now. There's a crash somewhere down there.
Well, we're hearing Thor Hushoff has crashed. We might see a picture of him there. That is a playback of it. That is Hushoff falling on that left turn and landing quite heavily on his left side there. Ouch.
Again, Phil, it's amazing, really. It's because this is a dry Paris Roubaix that the surface of the road is very, very slippery because of the dust. Hushoff ripped his shorts up there. He has to try and get himself back into this race. Look at him, his shoes came undone there. As he went round that corner, it was just that the wheels went from underneath him and he went down very hard indeed.
What is happening is the tyres have now gathered a film of dust on them from these journeys over the cobblestones, and if they're over-leaning the bike on these corners, they're losing all traction and going down.
Well, Jalingi here in the orange jersey of Rabobank, they're about to get pulled back into the fold by what remains of the peloton. Under the pressure of Team Sky Pro Cycling all over the front end of this main field this afternoon. You've got the black and red jerseys of BMC Racing. George Hincapie never very far away from the front. He's managed to get himself back into this race despite having a very bit of bad luck when he went through the forest of Arenberg.
Now, interestingly, those lime green jerseys are the teammates of Filippo Pozzato. And Pozzato is now much more better placed than he has been the whole race, as he knows that the journey through Orchy is possibly another vital point of this race. The peloton forms the arrowhead now, and the cobblestones are literally just around this corner.
Well, I know exactly where we are now, Phil, because once again, you see this young rider from Europcar trying to take advantage. It's still Turgot, but once you get to the end of this road, you turn left, and then all of a sudden, it's the forest, it's the cobble. Ooh, we went round there very sharp. I think that was a camera angle, but it didn't look very good to me.
I thought Sebastian Turgot there was about to come into our living rooms as he gets onto the cobbles here. They only give this, and I'm always surprised, a 3-star rating. Not by far the most severe, but it is a very difficult section. There's no cars, as you can see, are allowed down this road. All the public, if they want to come, have to walk from the village.
Now, Tomica comes to the front.
Look at this now. Look at the pressure. This man with pistons for legs as he just pounds those pedals now, and he's got trouble on his back wheel too.
I'm very sorry to announce that Sylvain Chavanel's just had a flat tyre at the back end of this group. It came crackling over race radio. Now Tomica knows this is the place to make a move, and look who is locked onto his back wheel in the lime green. None other than Pippo Pozzato.
The two of them come off those cobblestones. Pozzato takes a look at Tom Bonen. This is Turgot. That terrific piece of turn of speed by Bonen has brought two more favourites into the front now. They bubbled up to the top and they've caught Sebastian Turgot. And again, it's now the reverse now. It's Fletcher and Balan who's gone. That could be Balan coming across.
Coming across, you can see one of the big riders from BMC looking over to see what sort of damage is being done here. But look at the position of Bonen. He is a powerhouse. The other style there, though, if you look at Pippo Pozzato in the lime green jersey there, Phil, he looks so smooth on his machine. He's just tickling those pedals to keep the speed up to 50 kilometres an hour as Tom Bonen looks over his shoulder to say, right, I think this is the move. It's an awful long way to go to the finish, 57 kilometres, but if you get the gap, go for it.
This is the sort of race where you take a chance when opportunity presents itself, and he had to take his move. Now, he took a second take there at the BMC rider coming up, and it is Balan who's joined at the back of the group. So another favourite has come up. 3 out of 4 up front now.
Yeah, but look at the main... Well, it's not the main field anymore, is it? Because it's been smashed to smithereens, splintering off the front. Riders, one by one, trying to form this winning breakaway if they can.
Well, I must say that this race is only for the strong-willed. We now have 4 riders in front, 57 kilometres to go, and there, sadly, is the puncture to Sylvain Chavanel.
Well, that is really bad luck for Sylvain Chavanel, and as I said, if you have a flat tyre at the wrong time in a bike race like this, you can wait for a long time. It's almost 2 minutes, Phil, since I heard the race radio announce that he'd had that flat tyre, so he's got to do an awful lot to try and get himself back into Paris Roubaix this afternoon. From a possible winner of the race, he's now one of the also-rans.
Welcome back to Paris Roubaix. The rain is still keeping off, and boy, this race is full on at the moment. The pressure is now on at 56 kilometres to go, which is about 34 miles from 34 miles from the finish. And Alessandro Balan has joined up here, but Tom Bonen is just riding like a tornado. They call him Tornado Tom.
I thought you'd forgotten about that, but earlier on today I saw a big sign at the side of the road, Phil, which said, "Come back, Tornado Tom." Well, I think he's back now. This is the way to ride a race. This is the way to be a great champion. I've always said that Paris-Roubaix is a better suited race to Tom Bonen than the climbs of Flanders. Even though he loves that race, he's a Flemish bike rider. He wants to ride well in Flanders, but his size and his weight, I think, go against him when it comes to those short, sharp little climbs. Here, he can get the turbo whistling. Tornado Tom has got that V8, all of the turbos whistling now, and he's thinking about a big ride, a big escapade on the run down towards the finish.
And I'll tell you what, the Dutchman who's joined him on the same team, Nicky Terpstra, he's having a terrific start to the season this year. He finished 4th a couple of weeks ago in the 3 days of the Pana, which is about a week long these days, and he's won 1 race, but he's showing the sort of form we haven't seen from him for a long time. He came to this team last year after the Milram team disbanded, which was a German squad. He's a really strong man.
These boys are making a mistake here, Phil. They've got to get themselves organised very, very quickly. You don't let Tom Bonen ride away, especially when he's got his teammate up alongside him, because Nicky Terpstra was formerly the national road racing champion of Holland, and he's a very good individual time trialist. You put the two together, ouch.
Yes, and let's not forget, Patrick Lefevre, the manager of Tom Bonen's team, is looking for his 11th win this year in Paris-Roubaix. Bonen's already delivered 3 for him. Is he going to make it 4? Number 11, that's Tom Bonen. The flashes on the cuffs of his racing jersey indicating he's a past world road race champion.
This, by the way, Nicky Terpstra we're looking at here, Phil. He was 6th in the Tour of Flanders last week as well, behind his teammate.
Form.
He is in incredible
riding
form.
Well. This is such a dangerous move. Don't the peloton realise they could be letting Paris-Roubaix race off into the sunset?
Well, going away so far from the finisher is very reminiscent of a certain Fabien Cancellara, Johan Museo. These are guys who've taken the risks of a long, long breakaway, not waiting to the final few sections of cobblestones. Bonen wants to do something very dramatic here this afternoon. Talk about throwing the gauntlet down. I think he's thrown both down this afternoon.
Well, the thing is, this race has been full on since we entered the forest of Arenberg. Everybody is giving their all. There's nobody hiding, planning a move later. They're all 100% committed now. And Bonen has sensed this, and he thinks, well, if you're all doing the best you can, I think I'm better than you guys, and he's going to try a move.
And he is stronger when it comes to the cobblestone section, but the big advantage he has, Phil, is having a teammate alongside him in a move like this. Cancellara made a move like this at around about the same distance to go, but he rode the whole of the race on his own. But having an ally from the same team alongside with you makes this a much more dangerous move than a move by Fabien Cancellara a couple of years ago.
On to the next sector of cobbles. Number 11 we go. Auchy-les-Auchy. It's a 4-star, and it's just on 2.5 kilometres, or about 2 miles long.
Look at the way Bonen rides.
That's a long one.
look at the way Bonin rides, Phil, on these cobblestones. He sits right up and he's comfortable. He keeps the power going over, looks for the middle, the crown of the cobblestones, while the main field are losing time. It's almost 20 seconds the difference between the two leaders, and now Team Sky have decided to take the responsibility of putting the pressure on.
They had to, because without, there's nobody left to chase now. What's happened to their strength here? Because 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16 riders in this chase group. The Paris Roubaix, with still about 32 miles to ride, is down to a selection of about 35 men.
Scuttling up in the blue and black. Oh, well, Bonin is too strong for his own teammate here. Now, I'm not sure this is a great move, because Nicky Terpstra, he just cannot ride the cobbles like Bonin, so he's going to have to sit up and wait. It's going to be a long, lonely effort now for Tom Bonin, but if he's got the form that we believe he's got in those legs of his this afternoon, Phil, this could be some monumental ride by Tommeke.
If Tom Bonin wins this race from this far out on his own, he will go down as one of the best winners in the history of Paris-Roubaix. He's also looking for his 4th record-equaling win. He is riding like a man possessed here. Look at him hitting the pedals.
Phil, you know, he doesn't need to do this. He doesn't need to jump away from a group, because he's got one of the fastest finishing sprints in the group behind. But he wants to do it with panache. He wants to do it with style. But now the responsibility is right on his shoulders. It's up to them to try and catch him.
This is an amazing defiance. It's either going to turn out to be the most stupidest thing to do or the most ingenious. And we won't know the answer for that for about an hour and 10 minutes.
Yep, it's going to be a good hour and 10 minutes before we get to the finishing velodrome here, but they're scrambling there. That's Juan Antonio Fletcher with his teammates on the front end of the main field. Sky Pro Cycling Squad from the United Kingdom. 2 riders in there from BMC Racing trying to stay in contact. The one riding the cobbles crown there is Alessandro Ballan. He was on the wheel of Bonin when Bonin put the acceleration in with Nicky Terpstra, and pop, he went straight off the back of it.
Bonin is on his own. The favourites are in a group of 16 behind him, and the clock is ticking upwards. 27 seconds at the moment. Tom has just tamed these cobblestones once again. They bite everybody else, but he seems to have the word with them.
Terpstra looking for a little bit of smooth road. Please let me have a bit of respite from this hammering from the cobblestones. He was an integral part, and if he could have just stayed with Bonin, what a dynamic duo that was going to provide this afternoon. But Terpstra, he couldn't stay on the wheel of Bonin. Bonin is, for me, Phil, one of the greatest specialists in the peloton these days over these cobbles.
There is the unlucky Chavanel there in the blue top to his tricolour champions jersey of France. He's coming back slowly through the group. I'm not exactly sure where he's placed, but we think he lost quite a bit of time. Tony Gallipan of Radio Shack is just behind him. He also had a flat tyre. There he is, just peeping into our picture. But I think they're still quite a way off the pace.
Yeah, but Chavanel won't give up. He knows you don't give up in a race like Paris-Roubaix. Yes, everyone will have bad luck at some time throughout the course, and you've got to fight back. You've got to have it in your gut that you want to get through Paris-Roubaix. Number 61 there, yes, Gregory Rast from Team Radio Shack Nissan Trek.
He was 4th in this race last year, but I think he's also been claimed a puncture victim as well. So 3 strong riders that they may close down if the group eases up, but there are 16 boys trying to get together to bring back this one man, Tom Bonin. 29 seconds as he nudges up again, and he comes into the last 50 kilometres of the day, just over 31 miles to hold on to the advantage.
Phil, he would only make a move like this if he felt that he was in some special kind of form and special kind of condition here this afternoon. He's riding to the left-hand side of the road there. It's slightly smoother. Take it easy around that corner, Tommeke, because it's very slippery indeed in these dry conditions and the sand.
And this is Nicky Terpstra going slowly backwards. The difference... Oh, and Pozzato's crashed. Yeah, Pozzato's gone down. He's in collision there. And he looks at the ride he collided with was Marco Mercato, another Italian. There's the... In fact, it's Pozzato's fault.
And that was the corner there. It's just the little dusty conditions. He went down very hard indeed. In fact, it was Stein de Volder, the rider, who went down just behind him. So, Pozzato, when Lady Luck is not smiling on you, she can be a beast.
Well... That looks as though that's rather hurt him there. He's taking a little bit of a while to get back into it. The Italians don't like this race, as you probably have gathered by now. This isn't their sort of race, although they do have a race in Italy now called the White Road, the Strada Bianca, the Bianca Strada, and that is a very good race, similar to Paris-Roubaix in many ways. 30 seconds. Yes, we're looking at Nicky Terpstra here as he gets brought back to the fold. He's back into his element when he's on good road, but he just can't ride those cobblestones at the same speed as his teammate Bonin.
Well, I'm not sure how many people can ride the cobblestones with the same speed as Tom Bonin now. The team that really have got to put themselves together is Team Sky Pro Cycling. They've got 3 riders in this group. The most important, of course, is Juan Antonio Fletcher. He'll be sitting in 3rd position, but they're all going to have to work together if they want. Team Sky, Phil, have got 4 riders in this group. Actually, they're in a strong tactical position. They've just got one problem. They've got to chase down Tom Bonin.
So we're looking down on the chase group here now, and they're all under the escort of 4 riders from Team Sky to try and get Juan Antonio Fletcher back up to this man. Antonio Fletcher has finished 2nd and 3rd, but he's never won, and Tom Bonin has stopped him before and may be doing it again.
5-star rating here for the cobblestones of Mons-en-Pévèle. 3 kilometres long, 1.8 miles long. This almost 2 miles of racing. This is where Bonin excels. Do you remember, Phil, when he was just a 21-year-old bike rider? He came to Paris Roubaix and the same team as George Hincapie to help Hincapie try and win this bike race, and all of a sudden he was the man who came up with the goods and finished in 2nd place ahead of his team leader.
Yes, and that was the start, and in fact next year Tom had left the team and was the leader of his own team. Now the chase behind also includes Boyson Hagen on the Sky team. That is their 2nd man that they've lined up. Here's the sorry sight of Filippo Bazzato in the orange fading away. And he looks zooming through there with Sylvain Chavanel, but it's the end for Bazzato. I think this is it.
Well, when you see their car there, Assistance Médicale, that tells you exactly what's going wrong. He's obviously banged himself up quite nastily. Doctor got the magic ice spray there on his knee. He probably hit the handlebars with his knee there, which is why they're getting that ice spray on to try and get him into the bike race. But 61, Gregory Rast. This is all the chaos and all the stories that unfold at the end of a bike race like Paris-Roubaix. Fortunately, we're getting a chance to see some of them. But in the very famous showers here in the Velodrome of Roubaix, it's amazing the stories that get untold after these riders have spent 6.5 hours in the saddle.
It must be the most welcome sight in the world. This is a most unusual race like no other in the world of cycling. You never see riders of this quality riding behind the big pack ever, and yet you're just seeing Bazzato, Gregory Rast, Sylvain Chavanel all placed out of the race at the moment, fighting to get back in it. And when they do get back in it, if they get back in it, they will find that one man has gone. Tom Bonin still on his own.
Right, they're taking that left-hand turn now. The cars are, you might hear the horns. The horns have been hit by the team manager there just to let them know that there are riders coming up through the gap. These guys communicate all the time with each other. When you're driving in a race car, it's not a question of looking in front of you. You've got to be looking all around because these guys come by on the left, the right, through the middle, sometimes almost over the top.
Well, they're great drivers of these vehicles. They're well aware of what's going on around them, but there have been some very nasty accidents in history. Not least was the crash of the American Davis Finney in the classic Liège-Bastogne-Liège when he hit the back of a car when it came to a stop and went straight through the window.
This is Juan Antonio Fletcher. He's used his team to much of his advantage as he could, and he realised now that everyone was losing a little bit of firepower, so he said, now I've got to do it by myself, and the best way to try and ride across to Tom Bonin is on this cobblestone section. So Juan Antonio Fletcher, he's prized a slight advantage over the rest of that group there, but they're not letting him go quite as easily.
Juan Antonio Fletcher, Edward Boysenhagen, Matthew Heyman, Ian Stannard. They are the 4 riders who are here for Team Sky and trying to put things to rights. But Bonin is holding them off just on a half-a-minute advantage.
So Fletcher goes around that corner. They're halfway through this section of cobblestones, a 5-star rating at Mons-en-Pévèle, and he realizes this is the moment to try and take his responsibility. A little bit of water getting thrown in there just to try and wake him up a fraction, if that's at all possible. Out of the saddle, he's got the big gear going. He's got to ride across a 28-second gap, and that corresponds to around about half a kilometre or 500 yards.
28 seconds, the gap, and there's trouble there. Rider of Cofidis lost his pedals completely, and if he doesn't watch out, he's going to get hit from behind. This is desperate moments again down there.
Well, in fact,
it's a Katusha rider, I think.
Yeah, that was Luca Paolini had a problem there. It looked as if he had a problem with his pedal. He was trying to get his foot back into his pedal. It just kept slipping off. As now we can see the chase starting behind Tom Bonen.
Well, we hope it's the chase starting behind Tom Bonen. Here comes Sylvain Chavanel. He's got himself a big group now up behind, trying to get back up to the leaders. The battle of the cobblestones now. 28 miles still to ride here. The peloton is completely dissipated. There's a group of about 16 trying to get up to one Tom Bonen, who is 28 seconds off the front. And this has been an amazing journey so far. There is the lone figure of Tom Bonen now as he comes off sector 10 of the cobblestones. And then the camera pans up. And there is the chase. It's not a done deal just yet.
It is not a done deal for Tom Bonen here this afternoon, but slowly but surely the heads of state are starting to rise to the top end of this bike race because of the pressure of Juan Antonio Fletcher. Alessandro Ballant is the rider there in second place.
28 seconds the gap now. Bonen has not run away with it. They've started to recover by that strong challenge by Juan Antonio Fletcher. They've now got their other man up here too in Edvald Boysenhagen for Team Sky. And so it could mean that now Fletcher is trying to weaken them so Boysenhagen can have his day as the peloton come off the cobblestones. April 21st, the Epic Cycle Series presented by Michelob Ultra continues with the Belgian classic Flèche Wallonne. Cycling's elite must conquer the punishing Weur de Huy on Saturday, April 21st on the NBC Sports Network. We've now entered sector 9 here. It's not a long sector, it's only a mere 700 metres, that's about 600 yards or so. And Bonen is pounding the pedals yet again. This is an absolutely superb display by Tom Bonen. It's going to make him, it's going to double his fan base, I'll tell you.
You know what, Phil? This man has specialised in this week of racing. He's had the most incredible start of the season. He's wallowed around for the last couple of years with all kinds of bad luck, injuries, accidents, crashes, taking him out of the Tour de France. But this year, everything seems to have come back together again. He's much more serious, much more dedicated to the job in hand of being a professional bike rider, and it's paying off in this week of racing. And now he is opening up the gap every time we come to the cobblestone section because he's a specialist over these kind of cobblestone roads. I think he's conserving his energy on the smooth roads in between the cobblestone sections, and when he comes to these cobbles, he's just giving it his all.
He's probably the only man in the race who wants the cobblestones to come thick and fast because he certainly can ride them. Well, how long do they sit on the back of a bull for? 8 seconds before you win the money? This guy could do that.
He
rocks and rolls his way to Roubaix.
Hang on to that snorting, charging beast if you can for a mere 8 seconds. That's probably not what's going through Tom Bonen's head at the moment.
I thought you were talking about Tom Bonen.
What he's thinking about is getting to the next section of cobblestones. He is enjoying his bike race here this afternoon. You know, he's got a relaxed approach to this race. He won Tour of Flanders just 7 days ago, and now he can ride this race, and if he doesn't win it, well, he will have shown some incredible panache, and he really is putting the pressure on everybody else in this group.
He is repeating what Fabian Cancellara did in 2010, win virtually all of the top races at the start of the year. Poor Fabian broke his collarbone in at the Tour of Flanders last week, and I bet he's watching this on television back home in Switzerland and wondering just where he might have been at this moment when Bonen was pounding the cobblestones.
You might just have noticed there that what sort of damage a race like Paris Roubaix does to your body. You could see all of his muscles there jiggling around because of the pressure. Now this is the next group trying to pull themselves back up. That's Johan van Sommeren on the front.
Look at him go.
He is trying to pull himself back into Paris Roubaix here this afternoon, and what a good job.
He's in a group of 7 riders here, and they were split away from the Ballant group by that to surge forward a little bit earlier on, but it looks like they've now rejoined Ballant. He's third man in our picture in the red and black as Matt Heyman looks over his shoulder and thinks, hello, somebody else coming up here, and they're going to wait. This is another group, and I don't think Heyman wanted this group to join them.
Well, they've got another Team Sky rider coming across. Team Sky, I have to say, are in a fine tactical position here because they've got so many bike riders. The only problem is they're losing time consistently to this man. No, he's not climbing up into the stars here this afternoon, but he is writing his name once again into the history books of Paris Roubaix with a performance like this. Well, 40 kilometres to go, 25 miles left.
25 miles. That's less than an hour of racing at the speed these boys are going. Probably around about 53 minutes of purgatory left for these riders. More importantly, they've only got 53 minutes to work out how they are going to bring back Tom Bonen. We are on Sector 8 now, Pont Thibault, and it's the Sky, reach for the Sky, because they're trying to organise the chase to bring back the one man who is eluding them.
Well, they've got the power now, and also you can see the orange jerseys over on the right-hand side. That's Team Rabobank. They've got their race leader in here as well, Martin Jangeli, and he will be hoping that this organisation by Team Sky will pull back Tom Bonen. But in second position, you might notice the rider with the pale blue jersey. Well, that's Nicky Terpstra. He was in the move when Tom Bonen went a little while earlier on, and what he's trying to do is to break up the organisation of Team Sky, so it's a lot more difficult for them to cooperate.
It might be working because the gap is up to 42 seconds. If he hits the magic minute, I don't think they'll see Tom Bonen before the showers, those famous showers at the back of the Roubaix Stadium. They're very archaic, but the water's hot, and that's what they want.
Well, the water's hot, Phil, if you get in the first 30 or 40 riders, but if you're at the back end of the main field, I'll tell you one thing, you're in for a cold shower this afternoon.
From the heart of Paul Sherwin, who probably finished at the back end of the field on one occasion.
Oh, on many occasions.
Not all of them, I'll give you that, Paul.
Many occasions, but this is a race that I always got excited about. You get out of bed in the morning, you know it's going to be a big day. It's going to be a monumental day, and that's why Tom Bonen is trying to write his name into this monument. Yeah, he's won this race before, 1, 2, 3 times, but he wants to join Roger de Vlaeminck as a man who has won this race 4 times.
And he never had a single flat tyre in any of those 4 victories or a fall. But you need luck, believe me. Now, Team Sky have brought up an extra man. They now have 5 of their team here. They've got their 2 pre-race favourites in Hagen, Boysen Hagen, and Juan Antonio Fletcher. So it's down to the other 3 to make the work.
Well, Boysen Hagen, his nickname amongst the team is the Bodog, and he'd be hoping to do a Bodog move here this afternoon. But Nicky Terpstra is doing a great job. He's the rider in second position, Omega Pharma Lotto. He's breaking up the organisation of Team Sky, and every time he does that, every time he delays their organisation, it gives a little second here and another second there to Tom Bonen, because look at the clock. 45 seconds it is now.
Let's see how Terpstra handles the cobbles as we go on to them. 44 seconds is the gap, and there's still 7 sectors of cobbles to come. And the gap is now 44 seconds, you know, with just about 23 miles to go. And this man is doing well. The work rate of this chase group here are still 47 seconds. They're riding at the same speed as the lone leader, Tom Bonen, now. And we are in the last 21 miles from the stadium at Roubaix. Matty Heyman swings off. This is Team Sky. They've got 5 men in this group. Their 2 favourites are here. Nobody else is helping them. In the red and black going through picture, that is Alessandro Balan. Wait for a late attack from him when things get desperate.
Well, Tom Bonen now, Phil, is around about a mile away from the 7th section of cobblestones to go. The section of cobblestones in the small town of Templeuve. They're not very long, 200 metres and 500 metres bolted together as they head down towards the Moulin de Vartin. But for Tom Bonen, that is his playground. Little bit of a problem here at the back for Stannard, looking down at his back wheel.
Well, Stannard was in that chase group. He's gone back for a drink, and I think he's going to go straight back onto that group. He looks okay, the British cyclist here. Couple of bottles, bit of freight growing underneath, and the Express going underneath that, as we're now looking for Tom Bonen again, as he races a lone furrow here. 49, he's still pulling away. He's making hard work at gaining a second, but gaining a second, he is simple stretch here. Sector 7, a mere 1 star. It's not going to hurt anybody, is it?
It's only a 1 star, but in a few moments' time he'll come off this section of cobblestones and go on to another part of the Templeuve section, which is up towards the Moulin, the windmill of Vertin. But what he'll be thinking about is a very long section down towards the end between Sizouin and Borgel, because that long section is where Tom Bonen, I think, Phil, can start to consolidate his advantage. Nobody is riding as fast as Boonen can over these cobblestone roads that go back 200 years, and most of the year they're only ever used by farm tracks.
Tom Boonen made his move 52 kilometres from the finish of the race, and he's now got 52 seconds lead as the windmill sails are welcoming by. But this is not Holland, this is France heading towards Belgium. This is the Moulin de Vertin.
And it's got the wings out there this afternoon to turn around, and it's almost like a metronome ticking out the time for Tom Boonen here this afternoon, because his legs are going around a lot faster than those windmills. Look at the motorbike at the front there, getting those images of Tom Boonen. This is the sort of speed that you can experience if your name is Tom Boonen. He's riding over these cobbles of this section, Templeuve to the Moulin de Vertin, at close to 30 miles an hour. This has been one of the fastest Paris Roubaix in many, many years. And Boonen, he's like a racehorse, Phil. He's got the bit between the teeth. And look at the clock, 55 seconds. Very shortly, he's going to be tickling that 1 minute margin, that magical minute.
Yes, 1 whole minute, 60 seconds separating the chasers from the champion. That's the way it appears at the moment. They're now onto the same section, the windmill crossing. And it's Team Sky now with it all to do here with their two champions up here. And I must say, Ballan has done everything right, and he's taken advantage of the work of Team Sky for the American BMC squad. And it wouldn't surprise me near the end to see Ballan try and go alone. But whether he can bridge to this man now, because, boy, he is just having the time of his life.
Just look at the way that machine is bouncing. He's got he's a big, strong bike rider, Tom Boonen, but, you know, because of his centre of gravity, because of his position on the machine, he glides. You might have just seen the front end bouncing a little bit. That's why you don't hold the handlebars too hard when you're riding a race like Paris-Roubaix. You just allow the front end of the bike to try and find a little bit of a smoother ride as they come off now section number 7. There's still 6 sections of cobblestone still to go. And, of course, the one that Tom Boonen will be dreaming about now, Phil, is the Carrefour de l'Arbre, the corner of the Café de l'Arbre, which is a very long, hard section. Again, Boonen, these roads, these are the Flandre Artois, the Flemish, the Flanders of the northern part of France.
He's 10 miles from that famous section, the last famous section on the course today, which has 5 stars. If he gets there with 58 seconds, then he will definitely hold off to the finish. He's about 10 miles from the finish. We're literally halfway between now. The face of Tom Boonen here, tapping out the rhythm. The man that's been a world champion. He's won stage of the Tour de France. He's won the green jersey in the Tour de France. He's been a champion and a champion of everything. But all he wants now is a 4th victory in Paris-Roubaix. What's he saying? Sorry, Paul, I couldn't quite hear him. I was talking too loud myself.
Well, Wilfred Peters I think he'd be pretty happy with this situation this afternoon there. Boonen, look at that. You might just notice, by the way, on this specialised bike that he's riding, Phil, if you look at the back end there, there's a strange little curve, and at the front end also, when we can move forward, he's actually got kind of a little suspension in there. Not like the rock shocks that you would find on something like a mountain bike, but there's a kind of a gel in there that takes a little bit of the pounding out and makes it, if you can make it easy to ride over the cobbles, a little easier and a little bit more comfortable.
Well, he's making it look very easy at the moment. Even the giant there was looking quite amazed at the advantage that Tom Boonen has taken here. An incredibly brave decision, but he must have sensed the time was right to go so far from home, take a teammate with him and gamble on leaving his teammate. That is a man of supreme confidence. Here's last year's champion, Van Summeren, with the size of his bike.
He is a massive bike rider. Where's #1 champion of last year? He's a guy who spends the majority of his career, Phil, working for others, helping others. He's helped guys like Cadel Evans in the past when he was a member of the Lotto squad, but he's been brought on here to Garmin Barracuda to look after riders in the big mountain passes. The amazing thing about Johan van Summeren, Phil, is he can ride well on the flat, but he can also ride pretty impressively in the mountains.
He grips those brake levers. He is the man of the moment, Tom Boonen. As we're now looking at the face of this rider as it slowly goes darker with the dust of the day. 56 seconds the gap. He's 19 miles from the stadium. We are looking at arguably the strongest bike rider in the world at this moment in time. Tom Boonen, with 8 victories this year, is still on course to get his 9th and his 4th win in the Queen of the Classics. Look at the crowd. Tommeke. It's the Belgians' language affectionate way to call their boy home. And now we're heading into Siswang à Bourgel. And this is a fourth four-star section, Paul.
Phil, these are two sections bolted together. There's 6 to go section of cobblestones from Siswang to Bourgel to Wanner. 2.4 kilometres long. This is Tom Bonen. Look how smooth he looks. He sits nice and high on his machine. He's rolling over that massive big gear. He's not wearing any gloves at all, Phil, because he wants to be able to feel the cobblestones. I never used to wear gloves either when I rode Paris Roubaix, and you might think you might get blisters, but you don't. You get used to riding without hands, without gloves, I mean.
It's beyond without hands, but I see what you're saying, yeah. And there it is. 1 minute has come up now. We heard it from the race. It's now showing on the screens. He is just over 15 miles from the finishing line, 26 kilometres. I thought he faltered about 2 or 3 kilometres ago, but he's back on his home ground now. He is driving on the cobbles. 1 minute, 1 second.
Well, just had a little quick look at the. Look there, Phil, at the onboard computer that we've got here. And in fact, Bonen at the moment, people always want to know how much energy a bike rider is using at a moment like this. He's actually burning 1,000 calories an hour with the effort that he's putting in at the moment. That's a lot of sandwiches.
That's what I call a great diet. As we now come into the last 26 kilometres of the day of racing here, we're looking at 15 miles plus. So about 40 minutes is what Bonen has to survive now. That is an awful long time when you're holding off all of the stars of Paris Roubaix.
25.5 kilometres. That's 17 miles of racing, and he's still got the 1 minute mark. But look at him. He loves this cobbles. Look at how much the bike is bouncing around here. There you can see that little bit of the suspension thing just at the back there.
Well, it's Tom Bonen who's setting the pace. It's time to remind you all that they are on a very quick time today. I'm not sure they're on the record of Peter Post, the great Dutchman who sadly passed away last year, a record which has stunned the passage of time. But they are running over half an hour ahead of schedule now. And the Arrivée, 25 kilometres to the stadium, just over 15 miles to go.
Look at the flags, though. There's the flag from the Bruges football team over to the right-hand side, but the flag of France, the dust that's being kicked up by these bikes and the motorbikes that follow the race here this afternoon. Juan Antonio Fletcher himself taking the responsibility of trying to pull Tom Bonen back into the fold, but they're going to have a very hard job to do that here this afternoon. This is a long section of cobblestones. The Giants of Flanders here, you can see at the side of the road. I would have to say Tom Bonen is going to become a great giant as he comes off that section of cobblestones again. He is riding, as you've said, Phil, like a man possessed. He knows every centimetre of this race, and he wants to make sure that he rides into this velodrome on his own. It's a big ask. It's a very brave move to take this kind of a solo effort, especially when you're a man like Bonen who doesn't need to do it. He could sit in the main pack and come out and win this race in the sprint, but no, he wants to do it like a man. He wants to do it the old-fashioned way, the tough way.
Well, the record of Peter Post is 45 kilometres an hour, and they were certainly averaging that for the first 2 hours. He did it back in 1965, and it was a standout and always has been ever since. But, you know, it must be in danger today of being beaten, and what a fourth victory that would be for Tom Bonen. 45.129 kilometres an hour is the fastest average speed ever recorded on this event. Now, that would be about 28 and a bit. Just on 28 miles an hour.
It is absolutely possible, I would say, Phil, because after all, the first 2 hours of this race this morning were run off at an average speed of almost 48 kilometres an hour.
Yeah.
That is 27, 28 miles an hour, and that's pretty impressive. This is the second part of this section of 6 to go.
Just look at him. Look at the way he's riding the cobbles.
You just look at the front wheel, though, the way it picks its way over the smoothest part that he can find. These roads are unbelievable. These roads are archaic. They're hard, they're tough, but Bonen is enjoying himself here this afternoon. You know, if you look at the month of March that he had, he won a stage in Paris-Nice, the second stage, the only stage that actually suited any of the sprinters. Then he went on to win the Grand Prix E3, which is a race that the Belgians hold very dear to their heart over many of the difficult roads of Flanders. Then he took Ghent-Wevelgem. Last weekend, he took the Tour of Flanders. This afternoon, he's riding relaxed. Look at the way he's going around that corner. No slowing down at all for Tom Bonen.
He just danced around that corner, immediately sought out the sand on the left of the road. You have to be very careful on that sand because sometimes they camouflage a little hole or a nasty cobblestone sticking sharply out that can pierce the tyre. You've got to stay very much alert. And at this stage of the race, they're suffering from fatigue as well. I would say they're suffering from moments of desperation up here just now because they know they've got to shut this down in the next few kilometres. It's gone out now to 63 seconds.
Well, the man looking for his bow is Juan Antonio Fletcher. He's the rider on the front for Team Sky. Finds a smooth bit of road. Oh, a little bit of a slip there. I think that was Lars Boom. Joyeuse Pâques. Happy Easter to everybody out there as well. Let's not forget, there's the Easter Bunny, which they like in France. But I'm sure I'll be hoping to get home. I hope my Easter egg's been delivered.
I was going to say, you're the sort of man that would bite the ear off first. 63 seconds. It briefly went to 64. Inside 15 miles now, 14 and a bit miles left to ride to the finish. Tom Bonin goes faster when he's on the cobblestones than when he's on the smooth pavement. This is the chase behind. There's always disarray on the cobbles. It's the strong men set the pace, and that's the way it is. The rest just hang on.
The frustration that Juan Antonio Fletcher must be feeling, because Juan Antonio Fletcher in the first position there and Alessandro Balin in fourth position, they were in the right place at the right time. They were with Tom Bonin, but he just popped them off his wheel.
We've seen him pull that same trick in the past, Tom Bonin, when he's gone on to win, but much nearer the finish. Never where he went this time. As we continue to look at Team Sky now, the pacemaking here continuing to be made. This is now Boysenhagen in the spot of bother. That's a bit of a surprise, actually. I didn't think that Eddie would drop back. I thought he would be going forward at this stage, but he's not too happy with the cobblestones. The man from Norway.
Well, I think Phil, he's put a lot of effort in to try and help his own teammate, Juan Antonio Fletcher. That's why he's paying for it now.
And this is also Matthew Heyman, who is unhitching. The Sky team, I'm afraid, is going into a bit of an eclipse. As we look through the bicycle wheels briefly there, that was Lars Bohm getting back to the race. This rider is now on Canfin-en-Pévèle. It's not the bad one. We're heading for the bad one shortly. We are hearing on race radio there is a massive crowd awaiting Tom Bonin on the next sector of cobbles.
Well, Phil, if I can give just a little bit of history back, it was on this section of cobblestones when Tom Bonin, as a young 21-year-old, was looking after George Hincapie. Hincapie crashed into that
ditch there.
Exactly on the right-hand side of the road, and Bonin had to carry on alone, and he finished second in Paris Roubaix on that occasion. Did we believe at that time that this man was going to be as good as he is today? I'm not sure we did, but he's proving to be incredible.
We knew he was good, and in fact it was Hincapie's manager at the time, Johan Brunel, who had spotted Tom Bonin as a youngster and took him onto the American teams. But he couldn't hold on to him, and he went back to the Belgian squads, and he has developed exactly as Brunel foresaw. He is an incredible one-day rider. He's a good stage race rider, but he's not a Tour de France winner. He simply can't climb the high mountains, but he can do everything else, and twice as good as anyone else. A minute 21, a minute 22 as we speak.
Well, this is Tossato on the front now in the light blue jersey there of Team Saxo Bank. I think everyone's really this afternoon now, Phil, getting themselves into survival mode. Number 91 there, you can see he's the rider, Luca Paolini. He nearly came unstuck very nicely a little bit earlier on. These are a nasty section of cobbles here. They're bouncing around. You see everybody's riding over to the right-hand side or the left-hand side of the road to try and find a little bit of smoothness, a little bit of rest away from what has been a jaw-jarring race here this afternoon.
Good ride there by Lars Bohm. He took the bike change rather than change a wheel, and he got back very, very quickly into that chase group. But again, he's used energy at the wrong end of the race and can't drive up to the rider in the lead. A minute 24. We are heading towards 10 miles from the finish now. We're very close to the hardest stretch of cobblestones, and Bonin is nearly there.
Just have a look at the front end of his bike there. You can see it bouncing around. He's, as you said, got slightly lower tyre pressure than they normally had. He's off that section of cobblestones. Those flags that you notice there are the flags of the Lion of Flanders, the Vlaams Elu. And this afternoon, I think we will have to say that definitely Tom Bonin has been christened the new Lion of Flanders.
Tom the Tornado, as the Belgians call him. But I would call him Tom the Lion of Flanders. You're absolutely... Oh, there's a problem at the back here too. And this is the Sky rider. That's Matty Heyman, the Australian. A flat tyre, I think, for him. He may have fallen there, but he's back in the saddle now. But it's all gone wrong for Sky in the last couple of kilometres. They've lost their energy. They've slipped off the back, and the race has split up.
But you might have noticed, Phil, just on that camera lens there, just a little bit of a few spots of rain starting to appear here this afternoon. Tom, go for it. Tom, go for it. Look at that. Well, he absolutely is going for it here this afternoon. Now, I hope he gets over this next section of cobblestones carefully, because with that little bit of rain and moisture starting to come down, the first part of the cobblestones of the Carrefour de l'Arbre are known as the pavé bleu, the blue cobblestones. They are treacherous if you get a little bit of a coat of moisture on them.
Well, I tell you what, this is Lars Bohm, who had his problem earlier, got the bike change. He's now having to retire and get up on his own because all the firepower's gone from the break. Whatever happened to Matty Heyman took him out of the hunt. He was a strong man in the chase for Sky. We've seen Boysenhagen in trouble. Sky has lost total control of the chase group. I expected to see Balan move here, but he's not on our camera at the moment. It is Lars Bohm who's going for it as we head up to this major stretch of cobblestones. And wait till you see the people here. They are waiting to welcome Tom Bonen. 1 minute 19 the gap, and we're just about 10 miles from the finish.
This is the famous Carrefour de l'Arbre. He'd gone round that corner like he was going on a flat piece of road. It's a 5-star rating, over 2 kilometres long, 1.2 miles. This is the section where everybody knows if you want to win Paris Roubaix, you put the hammer down. But if you're alone in the lead with 10 miles to go, Tom Bonen must be starting to feel extremely confident. This, in fact, Phil, this is no longer a French crowd here. This is half of Flanders who've come out to the top end of France.
Well, they've come over the border. It's only about 5 miles to Belgium, a little bit longer from this particular point across to Belgium. But Tom Bonen now has entered his gallery. The crowd are just shouting in a crowd of noise all the way to Roubaix. This has been a demonstrative show on Easter Sunday in France by a Belgian. 1 minute and 11 seconds. He gains time on the cobbles.
Look at the way he's pedaling. He's using his torso. He's using everything he can to hammer down. He wants to destroy those pedals on the bike underneath him there, Phil, this afternoon. And what it's doing is it's pushing him at speeds of 30 miles an hour over these roads, some of which are more than 200 years old. These roads date back to the Napoleonic times. Napoleon's troops marched over here. One man is now chasing at 1 minute and 10 seconds. A former world champion in the cyclocross discipline of the sport, Lars Boom, is in second position on the road, but he's going to have to do something special if he thinks he's going to catch Tornado Tom here this afternoon.
Well, for Lars Bohm, this is typically in his street as well. As Paul has said, he's been for 10 years he's been the world champion and the national champion in those 10 years for his native country of Holland. They race over fields with their bikes on the shoulders. It's a winter sport. But on these roads, he could feel he's back home riding a cyclocross. Bonen fights his bike like a bucking bronco as he turns left. As he goes into the crowd, the Belgian flag flies in France as they welcome now, if he gets there, what would be Belgium's 56th win in the Paris Roubaix.
Well, Phil, this section of cobblestones, the Carrefour de l'Arbre, it earns its name from a small cafe just at the top end, at the end of this section of cobblestones, called the Café de l'Arbre. It's a lonely little place right in the middle of nowhere, and I think it only ever makes money this day of the year.
Oh, there must be other days if it's still there, Paul. Anyway, 1 minute and 9 seconds. Bohm has pulled back a second on Tom Bonen. 15.4, just 10 miles, slightly under 10 miles to the finish. There's the flag of the Basque Country of Spain flying across the fields.
Well, let me give Tom Bonen a little bit of good news this afternoon, because the flags in that direction will indicate that once Tom gets off the cobblestones of the Carrefour de l'Arbre, he will pick up a very nice tailwind, and I would think that will help him recover a fraction. Still there, we've got Alessandro Balan. He's in third position on the road. Just look how nasty these roads are, but Balan is trying to pull himself back up to Lars Boom. That group, which was a large group of riders, have been shattered by the Pavé de l'Arbre. And there's the little cafe I was just telling you about on the left-hand side.
Hi, Joe.
Thank you, our cameraman.
It looks to me as though it's undergone a facelift there. It's bought some blue tiles. There's the crowd who have been buying all the beer and coffee in that little cafe shop, as they're now the lone figure of Tom Bonen ploughs a furrow through the crowd. 15 kilometres to go, 9 miles to the finish. Lars Bohm, one of the greatest riders over the bad fields and bad roads in the world, is now trying to catch him, while Balan is also in the mix, still for a high finish.
The crowd here are going ballistic because they know they're seeing a man who's putting in an incredible athletic performance off the Pavé de l'Arbre now. 110 back to Lars Boom, 118 back to Alessandro Balan's group. But Tom Bonen here this afternoon, Phil, knows now with 15 kilometres, 9 miles of racing left to go, he's only got 20 minutes left in Paris Roubaix here this this afternoon, and he will try and make sure that nobody ever sees him again until he stops in the velodrome.
So Ballan knows now he can't care who's sitting behind him. He's got to ride this course. It looks like Juan Antonio Fletcher is sitting right behind him at the moment as Ballan sets the glow. And it's not too far up to last Bohm here. It is Fletcher who's tucked in just behind him. And the 117 there is Mathieu Ledianu of France. And that's a very, very good ride by that Frenchman. It looks as though Bohm maybe picked Herbert Biawat chasing through. He was 12th last year, last Bohm, in the Paris Roubaix, which was an outstanding appearance by him, and he was about to finish second, but I think now he's got his hands full.
Well, he's back now. We are with Bohnen. Look at him, he's arched back there. He's bouncing around on those cobblestones. He's on the section called Gruzon. This is the third section left to go. There's only one long section after this, and Bohnen will know this to perfection. He knows where he's going. He's just got to get there.
14 kilometres, 8 miles to go. Bohnen in charge, and there's 4 riders getting together behind him. Tom Bohnen is bound for a record equaling 4th win now. The gate is up, is over. That is where it once caused amazing controversy when they stopped the riders. Some riders jumped the crossing. They were disqualified when they got to the finish in Roubaix for going through a closed barrier. But that's not going to happen to Bohnen. He's through. A minute 22 he has in hand. He's almost looking quite relaxed there now.
Quite amazing when you look at the quality of these 3 chasers here. Lars Boom, champion of the world in the cyclocross. Juan Antonio Fletcher, who's finished second in Paris Roubaix. Then in that group as well, Alessandro Ballan, and they continue to lose time on Tommeke Bohnen. That's his nickname, and that, of course, is the flag of Belgium.
And he's right behind him now. The wind is favourable. A minute 30 the gap. To me, the clock is telling us that the riders behind now know they have lost Paris-Roubaix. They are not going to catch up with this man who broke away so far away from the finish. It seemed like a sporting suicide, but Tom knew himself better than we did.
Let's not forget, Phil, this man has returned after a couple of years in the doldrums to the man that he was many, many years ago. He's shown us since the start of this year. He started winning bike races in January this year in South America in the Tour of St. Louis. Went on to Qatar and Oman. But then this week, a month of racing in Belgium, he has been so dominant. He's been on a different level to everybody else, and right now he's proving that once again. It was a dangerous move, but it was a brave move. But Bohnen knew in his body that he was going to do it.
Heading up to 5 miles or 8 kilometres from the finish, a minute and a half. You can't bridge that. Tom would have to stop to be caught now. He's running to victory. Confidence all the way. The roads stay narrow and protected now from the wind as we're heading to the village of M and the second last stretch of cobblestones. And we don't count the first stretch to come because it is just nothing. And now Tom knows he's almost home.
Well, he needs to get off this section very carefully as well, because I remember when Henny Kuiper went on to win this race many years ago, he got to this section of cobblestones with about a 40-second advantage over everybody else. And when he got to the end, he took one of these corners and his tyre popped up, and he had to wait for a long time for the team mechanic to come up alongside and change his machine. Bohnen knows this section of cobbles. Look at the way, the confidence with the way he throws his bike into those corners.
It's amazing. And look at those thick tyres he's riding. He's made a good choice on his tyres today. They've ridden these cobblestones well for him. They're so heavy, a professional would never be seen training on such heavy tyres, but this isn't a normal bike race. Tom Bohnen has ridden it like the best champion this race has ever seen.
No, he has. But look at the way he's actually riding on the cobblestones. He's avoiding that bit of tarmac to the side of the road, because that tarmac is littered with little potholes, and if you hit one of those, you could very well find yourself getting a flat tyre because of it. Bohnen now counting down the time of 7.2 kilometres. That's inside of 4.5 miles left to go to the finish line. It's going to take him now, probably, Phil, not much more than 10 minutes. And I'll tell you what, he will enjoy riding around this velodrome, and the flags of Flanders and the flags of Belgium will be high as a kite.
Takes me back to a little memory of the week when Tom Bohnen went and reconnoitred the course and rode the cobblestones with his teammates. His teammates went too fast and he had to tell them to slow down. Boy, what a difference a few days makes.
Now, are we sure we actually believe that story anymore? Maybe that was a little bit of a psychological blow that he was putting into the Belgian newspapers. These are the three chasers, Juan Antonio Fletcher, but look at the clock. It's amazing. The clock is telling us everything about the way Tom Bonen is riding this afternoon, because it's 1 minute and 35 seconds his advantage. Those are the cobbles. Those are the cobbles of the northern part of France, which make this race so famous.
Three riders, two of them pre-race favourites. The one up front, very definitely the pre-race favourite. And Lars Boom, well, we didn't think he would do quite as well as this, having finished 12th last year. But he certainly had a great ride today to get into this chase group. This is the big crowd now cheering all the way. Off the end of sector number 2. Just one short sector of 0.3 of a kilometre remains. About 400 yards. That's all that's still to come. As Tom Bonen now heads for home, way ahead of the field.
Well, the next town that he will come into is the town of Hem. Then there's a slight uphill drag towards the top of the outskirts of Roubaix. He'll plunge down into Roubaix, and then he will come onto that very long, famous boulevard that every bike rider in the world wants to ride alone on their way into the velodrome. 1 minute 35. He'll say, thanks very much, I'll take all of that, but I'll still keep the pressure on.
Look at this.
There's his supporter.
He's actually shouting through his megaphone at the same time as showing a self-portrait as Bonen races on now. I think that board showing 1 minute 35. They show that also to the chasers, by the way. It's not just a biased thing with the leader. Bonen will think, they can't catch me now. Nobody can bridge that gap. His only fear now is a stoppage. Phil, 6 kilometres.
I've got to think back to all of the performances that I've ever seen come from Tom Bonen. This has got to be one of his best performances ever.
Yeah.
He's usually in the past used his sprinting ability to get himself victory in races, but here he's gone for the solo effort. He didn't have to do it. He could have waited. He could have stayed with that group of 3 riders behind him and won the sprint quite easily from that group.
That's what's made him a champion. 117 races this man has won in his professional career. But a sprinter who knows he could win with the group chose to be very special and stand out. And he's done that today.
He certainly has. These guys, they've still got to keep cooperating. Look at the position there of Alessandro Ballan on the American squad, BMC Racing. What a week he's had. If you take Tom Bonen out of the situation, it could have very well been a great week for Alessandro Ballan and BMC Racing, but they've come up against somebody who is probably on the form and condition of his life.
Clouding over, I have to say, but the rain has stayed away. Tom Bonen now heading to do the double of the Tour of Flanders and Paris Roubaix. Now, as Bonen races towards the finish now, he repeats what he did in 2005. That was the double of Flanders and Roubaix. He follows in the wheel tracks of Fabien Cancellara, the rider we saw crash last week in the Tour de Flanders, and now watches this on television as he nurses a collarbone broken in 4 places. It would have been interesting, Paul, today to see what Cancellara could have done about Bonen.
Well, it would have been interesting, but with ifs and buts, we can make a lot of different ways to the race to come out. But for Tom Bonen, he rode the race that he wanted to ride here this afternoon, and he's done it to absolute perfection, I would have to say. And now he can enjoy the last 4.5 kilometres as the chasing group of 3 riders will also now ride into the velodrome. But for one of these guys, Phil, there's 3 riders in that group. One guy will not get himself onto the podium. It would be such a prestigious thing to climb onto the podium in 2nd or 3rd position alongside Tom Bonen, who will today equal the record of Roger de Vlaming, the famous Belgian rider who won this race on 4 occasions.
Well, in that chase group behind, you know, Ballan and Fletcher have been on the podium before. Fletcher's finished 2nd and 3rd twice, and Ballan has finished 3rd and 4th. Lars Boom, and I'm not sure, but I think this is only his 2nd time he's attempted Paris-Roubaix, and he was 12th in his first attempt last year and could well be on, because he packs a sprint finish and the track is banked, and I would favour him to win the sprint.
I feel sorry for the guy who finishes 4th. It's a tough day after being out on the attack, chasing Tom Bonen here this afternoon. But that's the way the sport is. Bonen doesn't have to worry about any of those computations, Phil, or any of those calculations, because for him, it'll be a lone ride around the velodrome. It's 500 metres round this velodrome, and I'll tell you one thing, he will enjoy every 500 metres of it as he salutes the crowd. He's not too far away now, 3.5 kilometres. That's just over 2 miles of racing left. That's going to take him not much more now than 4 minutes to get to the finishing line. Well, Bonin still continues to concentrate there. He's in that time trialing position there as he cuts around all of these corners. He's not far. He's up at the top of the climb now, and very shortly he'll start to plunge down towards the outskirts of this velodrome, this very, very famous velodrome of Roubaix.
Well, I did reference Lars Bohn finishing 12th last year, but I've just checked my notes. In fact, this is his third attempt at Paris Roubaix. I don't know whether the first one actually counts now, because he was actually outside of the time limit coming into the stadium, so he wasn't listed on the result. It's interesting that, Paul, but there is an actual time limit of 5% on finishing this event.
There is the velodrome on the right-hand side of Roubaix, and that's where Tom Bonin is...
Look at this now, pointing at us.
He knows he's got it now, Phil, in the bag, and he's going to enjoy every moment of this. This is a piece of history in cycling, because he will equal the record of 4 wins in Paris-Roubaix by Roger de Vlaming. And I wonder what the often critical Roger de Vlaming will have to say about this performance.
Well, he's got to be impressed, that's for sure. We've updated the record books. Next year, when Tom Bohn attempts Paris-Roubaix, he'll be going for the outright record of 5 victories in this event. There's only 5 men other than de Vlaming, and including Tom Bohn, who have won it 3 times. Octave Lapisse in the early 1909, 10 and 11. The great sprinter from Belgium, Rick van Looy, in 61, 62, 65. And, of course, the legendary Eddy Merckx in 68, 70 and 73. And that great Italian, 3 times straight, Francesco Moser, 78 through 80. And now Tom Bohn is about to improve on 05, 08, 09. It'll shortly be 12 as well. He'll switch to the left of the road, down the centre of the road, the last stretch of cobblestones before he enters the stadium. Bohn knows he's won. He's already celebrating.
You know, these people, Phil, they've come out of the cafes which litter the side of the road here to enjoy this man coming by live. They realise what a performance he's put in. Talk about an athletic performance by Tom Bohn here this afternoon. There you go. 4 is the number of victories he's going to take here when he comes onto the velodrome, as he's gone over this last section of cobblestones, the ornamental section of cobblestones in the Kruipeland.
4 times, the last stretch of cobblestones, the end of all of the 27 sectors as we reach Sector 1. The kite ahead is 1 kilometre, just over half a mile to the actual finish. The crowd are cheering home a 56th year of a Belgian victory here. As they swing towards the stadium, shortly we are going to hear the roof off the stadium. The last few metres, and he's on the hallowed concrete surface of the Roubaix velodrome. Tom Bohn brings it home yet again for a record equaling 4th time. There's the track. Now listen to the welcome. He comes into the home straight to receive the bell for 1 lap to go. He's already saluting the crowd. This has been a champion victory by a champion bike rider.
I got to say, Phil, there is no way to win Paris-Roubaix but like this for Tom Bohn. It really is an historic move that he made, a brave move. Some would have said maybe a silly move, but it's paid this afternoon. He has dominated Paris-Roubaix, and he's going to enjoy every moment of this. And I'm sure tonight he'd probably enjoy a very, very good Belgian beer.
Tornado Tom has blown an ill wind over the rest of Paris-Roubaix as he lines up for the finish now. He equals the record of 4 victories of Roger de Vlaming, another great Belgian cyclist, and Tom could have a few more in him yet. He wins, but the speed, 43.48, is not a record average.
He's not worried about that, Phil. These guys now are worried about who's going to finish 2nd and 3rd, who is going to get on the podium here this afternoon. Alessandro Ballan is not that much of a sprinter, you know, but he will have to do whatever he can. You know, you can take the banking to your advantage, but it's a strange sprint here, and if you start too soon, a lot of riders get overtaken in the last few meters if you misjudge your effort.
So while Bohn celebrates in the centre of the track, the race, and there he is with Wilfred Peters. His manager in the car, the chap on the left there going through camera, was Patrick Lefevre. That's the 11th man in 18 years he's seen on his charge win Paris Roubaix. We're now looking for the sprint for second place. I think the best sprinter is the man at the front, but he shouldn't be at the front at this stage. 1 lap to go.
Lars Boom comes from cyclocross background. He's been the champion of Holland for 10 years in a row. And now you can see, and in fact, look at this. All of a sudden, we're about to change the tactics because Nicky Terpstra has come back. He's number 15. He's the teammate. And there on the back there is Sebastian Turgot in the green. All of a sudden, the dynamics have changed.
And they most certainly have. And Turgot's a Frenchman, remember, and he could get second here because he can sprint. The sprint has been opened. Now, Juan Antonio Fletcher has got the lead. Turgot has got the best position, but watch out for Balin on the banking in red as they come off towards the finish. Juan Antonio Fletcher goes as Turgot got it on the straight, because this will be a great result, by far and away his best ever finish. He caught them on the track. Balin is coming on the line. It is desperately close, but I think Turgot. How about you?
Well, I don't know, Phil. It was so close on the line. It was the lunge for the line. We need to see the photo, because Balin looked to me as if he might just have gone over there in the last moment.
So there is the winner, indicating 4 victories, and that, well, was the most confident victory I've ever seen in his 118, Tom Bonen do. Now watch the line on the front wheel. Well, I still don't know.
It is very, very
we'll have to wait
indeed.
for that. But it looked to me as though Turgot may have held on. This is the welcome. Wilfred Peters himself here, who's patting the back of Tom Bonen, has finished 3rd in this race in the past. But that was a win. And then Patrick Lefevre steps in with his 11th winner in 18 years of this race on his team.
Well,
still not sure here. An incredibly good finish by Balin on the left, but no help from that picture at all. We need to see the front wheel.
Well, this is the next group coming in. Last year's winner there, Johan van Sommeren in the blue jersey, in the blue helmet in 2nd position. He comes up there.
Good ride by Van Sommeren. Tremendous defence of his title, because he's been in the pictures all of the way.
Well, I think we're looking here at Matteo Tossato. He should be a man who's got a good chance of getting himself the victory in the sprint here. He used to be a great lead-out man for many, many years for guys like Mario Cipollini.
Tossato leading out, though. That's Martin Vainons on his back wheel. As a move coming up, this is Ledanu, who had the bad luck in the white, in 3rd place now. The Frenchman who had that back wheel puncture, and that put him out of the chase for the race for 2nd place. But it looks as though Tossato has got this, Paul, and he's made it look rather a formality. He's a good sprinter. He's being challenged at the moment, but I think he should just... Oh, will he? Yes, just about makes it. Matteo Tossato, Saxo Bank. He gets, I think, we're 6th place. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, just ahead of Matty Heyman there.
And there it is. Well, you know, they've given it to the rider nearest the camera, but it looks dead heat to me.
It looks... I tell you one thing, Phil, they're going to have a very good look at that photograph afterwards. It will go to the photo finish. They popped up those 2 riders, but it may well be a dead heat.
I think that's the furthest result, is a dead heat for 2nd, which would be amazing.
Well, they're going to have to magnify the finish there.
As we're watching now the riders who have survived the crossing of the Queen of the Classics secret weapons, the cobblestones, as they come home one by one. Taylor Phinney, I think it was, just getting in the places there. It looked like Taylor Phinney. That's, take your hats off to Taylor.
Yep.
A young rider like that surviving such a high finish. Taylor Phinney finishing there and doing extremely well. His mum and dad will be ecstatic, and they're here.
That's Tyler Farrer there in 2nd position.
It is
3rd position is Heinrich Hausler, number 4. A little bit further back, number 101, one of the riders from Vacances Soleil. And this is the big acceleration coming from Team Cofidis in the red.
And it looks as though they're 2 good sprinters, Farrer and Hausler. Farrer's going with the move, but I don't think Heinrich is too interested now, because he's not racing for a big finish now at this stage of the race. It's 6 minutes since the win across the line.
That's Farrer, actually. Tyler Farrer getting 2nd across the line from that group, so he's got himself through Paris Roubaix here this afternoon.
So all that remains now is for Tom Bonen to come onto the podium and receive that sacred cobblestone and make it 4 for him, and the race will be complete. Paris Roubaix has been fantastic. There we are. Tom Bonen gets that cobblestone. Lift it up above your head, Tom, because this is very, very special indeed. Only the second man in the long, long history of this race who has got 4 of these great trophies back home. And second place, by the way, they have given it to Sebastian Turgot, which means that Alessandro Ballan will finish in 3rd place. But you know, time and time again, we've seen the photo finish. I can't see anything between them both. But there has to be a second, and they have given it to Sebastian Turgot, with Ballan in 3rd place here. He rode a very good race. He just wasn't in the same mould as Tom Bonan. He couldn't control him when Tom went for it, so far away from home. It's time now for our Michelob Ultra ride of the day, and who else could it be but the great Tom Bonan today? He breaks away a long way from the finish, and then it took him a while to gain time, but once he started in full flight, there was no catching this man today. He came off the Carrefour de l'Arbre with a lead of 1 minute and 11 seconds, and all that remained was to salute the crowd as he came into the stadium. He got a tremendous reception on coming into the velodrome, and as he approached the line, he just held up 4 fingers to remind us all he has now won this event, a record equaling 4 times. So Tom Bonan on Michelob Ultra Ride of the Day. Right, well, Paul Sherman has left my side, and he's now caught up with Tom Bonan. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Tom, a bike rider like you didn't have to make a move like that. Why did you make that move at 55 kilometers to go?
Because I can. I had no choice. I think I had no choice. I wasn't really planning on going solo, but at that moment when I got in front with Nicky, I said, okay, let's try. I mean, it was nice to try to make a little numero. If you have to ride in the back or you have to ride in front, it's the same. And if we would have stayed together with that group, we have to ride anyway. But then in a certain moment, Nicky dropped, and I was by myself. And I just said, okay, let's go, let's try it. Also, to do a 4th victory in Paris Roubaix on this way, it really shows that this is my race.
Yes, I think Tom Bonan there living in the true tradition of the sport, and I have to say, in the great style of Eddie Merckx, so well done to him for that. So let's have a look then at the final result. Tom Bonan wins just inside 6 hours. Sebastian Turgot in 2nd place, the same time as Alessandro Ballan. Juan Antonio Fletcher 4th. The top 6 completed there by Lars Boom. And looking further down here, the defending champion, Johan van Summeren, crossing the line in 9th place. The top 10 completed by Martin Veenants of the Rabobank team. Some notables for you: the ex-world champion for BMC, Thor Hushovd, finishing in 14th place. The brilliant ride by Taylor Phinney in 15th place. And the other Americans here, Tyler Farrar crossing the line 29th, and George Hincapie, this remarkable man, he was 43rd today. Well, one man off our camera but did a marvellous ride today was the young American Taylor Phinney, and here he is now with Paul Sherman.
Well, Taylor, I know you've been to Paris Roubaix before as a youngster, but this is the big time. This was the big game. What was it like out there?
It was quite difficult, epic, you know, as expected. It's my favorite race. I love this race to death, and so to be able to be up there and help the guys, you know, I know Ballan would have liked one step up on the podium than second, but as a team, we have to be happy with that. And personally, I did a fair amount of work and had a really good race. Finished in the top 20, and that's pretty special for me. Just entering that velodrome is just the best thing ever. I love it.
What do you think when a guy like George Hincapie, with the experience of George Hincapie, says Taylor Phinney's going to be the first American to win Paris Roubaix?
Well, I mean, this, you know, obviously pretty special to hear that. George and I have become really close this year. You know, we roomed at training camp, and we've been rooming all through the classics together. And so, you know, he's a great guy, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can from him. And you know, I hope he sticks around for another couple years, but I can't really ask him to do that.
Well, Taylor Phinney has had a wonderful career already as a world track champion, but I think he's going to count that as one of his best ever cycling performances. And how nice is it when your mum and dad, Connie and Davis, were here to see him do it? Well, that about wraps it up from here in Roubaix. But remember, the Epic Cycle presented by Michelob Ultra continues with the Ardennes Classics. Saturday, April 21st, it's Flèche Wallonne. And then on Sunday, April the 22nd, we'll continue with Liège-Bastogne-Liège. For a full schedule, log on to our website at nbcsports.com. And starting Wednesday, see the Stanley Cup playoffs in their entirety on the networks of NBC Universal. So congratulations to Tom Bonan. He was a great winner today. For Paul Sherwin, I'm Phil Liggett saying so long for now. Until the next time, goodbye.